Welcome everybody to the Whammy Lab number 3, third iteration of this format, and they kind of seem to be changing a little bit here. We got some interesting format for sure, as you can even see in the stream title. We have 2 goals per set already. We got some awakening bands for this like custom setup here. We got 2 rounds of round robin, pretty much. Actually, sorry, 1 round of round robin into bracket eliminations. It's actually so wild. What do you make of this, Slav? What do you make of this format?
I don't know. It's interesting to see how well the format's going to go. I'm also curious about the set duration. 2 goals per set could make for some pretty fast games and also just add so much more value to each goal that has been played as well. What I do want to lean into a little bit, though, are the awakening bands, right? It's a very new format, at least to me, conceptually, that you can take away awakenings for all of the best of one matches in the round robin. The teams will be playing with awakening bands, and that can take away so many polarizing awakenings, right? Stuff like the heavy impact can go, the stagger swagger can go, stuff like among titans can go, fight or flight. It all kind of comes down to what the teams want to be playing for and what they're preferring. So I'm curious to see where the strategies are going to be in all of these round robin series, essentially. Like what are the awakenings that you're most afraid of and you don't want to be dealing with, essentially?
Yeah, right. There's like a bunch of different things you could do. You could ban aggressively too. If you think that the opponents are gonna try to play for ball, you could ban things like Spark of Resilience. You could ban things like Reverb. You could ban a lot of defensive awakenings as well. So that could actually be incredible. We just got a little information here that Dragon Slayer series is going to be banning Adrenaline, Deadeye, which is fair. I mean, that is power. That isn't they're banning quite defensively here, which is actually making a bunch of sense. And we have the kittens banning Stagger, Swagger, and Among Titans. So kind of a more I don't know, a more mid ban here. It seems for the kittens right there to ban. They do ban health. They ban extra speed and stuff like that. So they're trying not to have maybe like a giant Rasmus or a giant Kazan to just like get in the way. So totally fair. But yeah, like you're saying, there's a lot to think about with the opponent's awakenings and the map picks, or sorry, the opponent's character like pools and the picks, right? If they play Luna or something like that, like you're like, oh, no Deadeye, bro, no Adrenaline Rush, man. If they're playing Vice, these things like you said, heavy impact. I mean, things get a little bit awkward there. So the awakening bands I think are pretty cool and add another layer of skill to see like how you guys are really going to basically play the game on the map that you guys selected.
Yeah, and essentially some awakening bands could roughly translate into a character ban even, right? If you're taking away Deadeye from the equation completely, some people might hesitate to pick something like a Finny or something like a Luna. For this instance, I feel like Dragon Slayers 2, they just said, hey, we don't want you to snowball with KOs. We're taking out Adrush and Deadeye, and Kittens took out the exact opposite. We don't want you to just survive and have speed, so we're taking out Stagger, Swagger, and Among. And what ended up happening? We're on Night Market with Stacks and Prize Fighter, so both are still valid. So ultimately, they just took out the extremes, but the same kind of game plan can still be executed from both sides here.
Yeah, we do get a little bit of both of the bands showing up, speed and power, as well as they're going to start here on this night market game. We have double slicks for the side of Kittens, and we have Pummeler's Juliet, which is totally fair. A lot of high risk, high reward there. If they can find some kills, it's going to be even more powerful with that Pummeler's speed. But we'll see what's going to happen here as we are starting off pretty slow. Only 1 barrier down for the side of Kittens. Dragon Slayer is going to work on getting this ball on out of here, trying to get it past Twisty. Vermella nicely does get it past the Striker Kai there, who ends up spending an evade, but NXTD did hold cooldowns, did a whole lot of damage there, but to no avail on the kill, and Striker Kai's going to get in there nicely with a barrage. Twisty can't seem to maintain control of the ball just yet, though, even though Strike Shot, or Enjo, I actually don't know who Enjo is. Is Enjo somebody we know, Slav?
I'm not quite sure if Structured Enjoy is someone I know, although I'm European. I might just be missing out on some crucial information here, but more crucial information is the fact that Striker Kai's taken out now, and with that, stacks on stacks are actually off the board as well. So this is actually a huge momentum shift now going in favor of the side of the Kittens.
Yeah, Kai, definitely a really good character to have those stacks stacked, and we'll probably not have too much trouble stacking it again, but they are already a little bit low here. Extra low. No cooldowns left. No health left as they're going to get knocked right off the map. NXTD activates those pummelers, gets a kill. 3 stacks of Prize Fighter. Twisty trying to slam that ball on in there. NXTD has complete control, but Enjo so close with that strike shot, like a true pixel away from saving that one, but NXTD is going to be just fast enough to get it on in there, starting off this game with first blood for the Dragon Slayers.
Going strike shot, but sadly strike shot wasn't fast enough there to save that goal. As we're now back in the kickoff situation, and again, damage is being dumped as much as they can. Although I feel like it's still very much going to be a speed game, right? It's stacks and stacks. Everyone's always going to be fast. That's what you're going to be playing for. You're playing for that control. If you find a KO, that's huge value, right? Because you are resetting basically the entire mobility, and that's exactly what Kittens are going for here as well, with NXCD being able to pick up another KO. Now on 3 prize fighter stacks already, by the way. This Julie is getting really, really scary together with that Pummelers.
True, 1 set. Already only 1 point sent into like 3 stacks, like you're saying. It's making her really strong, really deadly. You're gonna have to spend those evades. Really, just be aware, right? Be aware of what's going on. And also another thing I want to bring up is the 2 points per set makes Flip really interesting. It kind of changes the dynamic there, as you just simply get way less energy. Flip becomes so much more useful to just grab those resources. You kind of want to just like spend it to get it, I feel like, because it might be the most powerful thing in this format. Says me, of course, but as they're going to spend 1 to get that barrier, NXCD trying to fight their way on in there, a little bit low right now, have Flip, and just going to keep them a little bit weak as they're almost going to grab that barrier. Carmella doing a pretty solid job of holding the ball right now as NXCD finally does get staggered, but actually counter strikes with that Flip. Going to get another kill. It's power plays for the... Oh, I had the names wrong. Power play for the Kittens, actually, is going to look pretty good right now, although Enjo is holding the ball quite well. Twisty is now back to make something happen. A flip on Enjo could make things happen. NXT really close to getting 1 more kill here. You know, I feel like Dragon Slayer is going to have to be a little bit more careful, as NXTD is quite strong here.
Yeah, extremely strong, actually, with that Pummelers, with that prize fighter. So you need to be so wary around those edges of the map to make sure you're not getting taken off. And it's also a little bit of a mindset change, too, in my opinion, because you're looking at the set, right? And you're so used to, well, at the point, it was a 1-0 lead for the side of Kittens. You're so used to thinking to yourself, okay, it's not great, but we can kind of manage still, right? We're not immediately losing a set, but that's actually not the case. We're currently at a point in the set where the next goal decides who wins the set. And that might be something that can catch some of the players off guard as well when it comes to decision-making of ability usage and flips. Whereas in a normal game, you're saying, hey, I don't mind, I can keep the flip for the 3rd point in the set. This time around, if you're doing that, you're just losing the set right then and there. So I wonder if we're also going to see players run into the issue of just kind of defaulting back to the normal 3-set goals.
Yeah, true. It is definitely a huge like mix-up here for the players. Like sometimes you're playing, like right now, they're just playing and like they have 1 second to look at the goals, look at their character, look at their cooldowns, and they might just think like, yeah, you know, we have another point here, maybe I'll just hold this 1 cooldown. But you know, they really just don't have that option in this format. As Twisty's going to try to make it happen here with that slice and dice flip combo, but it does not seem to work out. A flip here from Grimella, solid angle, but Enjo is in the way there nicely as they're going to spam a little energy burst action there. NXCD can't maintain control of the ball even with that drum and bass active. They're going to try to hit it back on over here to Grimella, giving it over to NXCD, but the Expanse is really going to block all of this pressure. One more time, trying to stun NXCD. Striker Kai helping it get on through, but takes a whole lot of damage just from dash punch, executed horribly with that flurry. Flips right in front, crazy angle to get it on through. That would have dodged a lot of stuff. Enjo's trying to get it on through, but NXCD, you know, there he is. Resources saved right in front of the goal. I mean, Flip was huge. The set's over. We're seeing the Awakenings, 2 points. I mean, it's a big difference. It's quick.
It is a big difference, but I want to point out that Kittens ended up banning out Among Titans and Stagger Swagger. That's only banning it from the starting Awakenings because, hey, it's still in draft here, so they didn't want the enemy team to have it. Well, tough luck. They're gonna get it anyways now if they do want to pick it up. And you can see that as well by not wanting to give them survivability there. Actually, NXTD picking up the Stagger Swagger for himself with that movement speed, with that extra pressure that Julie can bring out. Other than that, Monumentalist on now, huge pickup, right? Has so much more pressure, especially on a map like Night Market. Your secondary will just cover the entire half now. And other than that, I feel like everyone kind of alright with their pickups. Largely just the Nye picks, though, I feel like, to make sure that the KOs aren't going to go any faster, because 1-2 punch on Kai and explosive entrance on Atlas, wouldn't say those are the normal prio picks there.
True. Honestly, I feel like Dragon Slayer's really got the short end of the stick there. I mean, damn. We're going to see Twisty just get executed there as well. But I feel like Twisty with Among Titans might be like the strongest of the Awakenings that they got. And it's still going to be pretty tough to use. Like, you're with the smallest little Zentaro ever. and you have to make the best use of that speed. I mean, Kai with 1-2 punch is not too great, and I mean, explosive entrance. Atlas is also just like, yo, and I mean, everyone else on the other team seems to have got something pretty solid. Like you mentioned, Monumentalist is like actually big. So I feel like that Awakening draft just was really tough for Dragon Slayers. Although they are also down, you know, well-deserved for the winners to get a good draft. That's just how it goes, as Grimella's going to try to push it on through with NXED. Double flip, triple flip, in fact, for the side of Kittens. Keeping that speed on the ball. She tries to get in there, uses the flip, but loses the barrier either way. Really good trade there for Twisty, but man, NXED looming like a shark. Gets that dash punch flip combo once again. I mean, it does have a surprising amount of knockback when you add that flip to the combo. Nice NXDD winning a strike quarter, grab that barrier. Grimella approaching with the flip right on through the 7-10 split to grab that goal. Grimella, credit, and Kittens are, I mean, are they not one goal away from ending this game?
Not from ending the game, but one goal away from definitely taking a convincing lead in sets. But I feel like it's like, again, the momentum shift, right? Because NXCD, not only has he up to 3 prizefighter stacks again, he's also managed to get the KOs on both Twisty and Striker Kai. So both the forwards on the side of Dragon Slayers do not have any stacks on them realistically. They need to slowly start stacking him up again. And when you have a powerful advantage like that, you want to take advantage of it. You want to apply pressure and play around it as much as possible. And you can see that Kittens is definitely trying to do that here, as Core barely has left the half of Dragon Slayer so far.
Yeah, a lot of pressure being put on by Kittens, especially with that drum and bass, to just allow both of the forwards to just get around, get their hands on that ball. Twisty finally has a little bit of pressure there, does grab the barrier with the help of Striker Kai, and we're going to pass it on over. Okay, careful, that barrier is going to remain healthy. Twisty grabbing a orb just to make sure that they get this flip, but taking a little bit of damage. The ult comes out. They are kind of just ping-ponging the ball a little bit on the top lane. Grimella spends that flip there, but does a nice sneaky angle to grab that barrier. Wow, that redirect almost worked perfectly for NXCD, but Striker Kai can try to get the ball on over to Twisty. You can see that 1-2 punch in the overtime actually does make a little bit of a difference here, getting a red ball, which is really nice. Hands on over to Enjo here. Okay, we have Grimella approaching with NXCD one more time, tries to maybe get something, a redirect, but man, the flip. Really great angle. Once again, NXCD is kind of the MVP right now, as they're really making it happen, and Grimella supporting so hard. Yeah, look at this. They actually even have more strikes, more experience. Grimella, credit for this set.
Yeah, and Grimella also gets rewarded by being able to pick up an Awakening first here now. Which one is he going to opt in for? It would likely be just Rapid Fire, surely more cooldowns, but not picking anything? No, talking about cooldowns, Reverberation. You know what? That also helps with survivability. You know what Kittens is currently playing for? KOs. So definitely a great pick up. A dead Ren Rush again. Like, this is the second Atlas pick, and the second time it had to have been a deny pick, because if you give a Ren Rush to NXCD, who has so consistently been finding KOs, it's lights out completely. And currently, in the state of the game, Dragon Slayers cannot... They can't deal with any more like bad sets, because one more set's loss and they're out. Well, not out, but they lost the round.
Right, absolutely. I mean, their set of Awakenings even there, yeah, like you mentioned, it's really weak. I mean, Twisty had Deadeye. I mean, Kai with the health. I mean, okay, health is good on Kai. I mean, this is rough. I honestly feel like these are really rough. Possibly really good picks, though, from Kittens, as they are making the most of winning these sets. Twisty gonna wait to get an Orb. NXT once again looming very hard there. Only one stack of prize fighter, though, so not nearly as deadly as before. But I say that, and just a little bit of a combo action is going to take Striker Kai down to nothing, who took Spark of Resilience. So, I mean, Kittens is doing a whole lot of damage there. Twisty trying their best to get it on through. Gonna hold that flip, but that might cost them the barrier. That might cost us the whole point. Okay, spends the slice and dice there to keep control of that flip from Grimella. Big dash punch flip, but we do have the Astral, or the crap, I forget what it's called. Gonna keep them alive there with the Atlas ult, but a nice flip from Twisty. He's gonna grab that barrier, and this is really the chance that they have to just try to make a swing here, to just grab this. Oh my god, really great Giga Blast from Striker Kai to block the top. Hard to react to that one, but here we go. Dragon Slayers on the board.
Beautiful Giga Blast, and more importantly as well, they were able to get that goal now without having to use either the Atlas flip or the Kai flip, which Striker Kai is going to get soon, right? So you want to start farming that energy now if you're inside of Dragon Slayers. You want to get the Kai flip online and make the most value out of it while you still have the set advantage, because you are 1-0 up in the current set, and also are currently holding on to an energy advantage, which is absolutely massive if you're just one goal away from taking your first set of the series. But you do still need to find the angles to actually find the score in the end. But while you do find one of the barriers so far, the second one's not going to go easy, as Weston also has a flip to his name.
Yeah, good resources here from Kittens on deck right now. Is possibly going to hold this barrier for a while. Okay, Enjo does get a sneaky strike in there to get it past NXED, but to no avail on that barrier just yet. Triple goalie action right now as Twisty's going to back up, giving the ball over onto Kittens, who do have double flip. One from Grimella to try to clear the ball, sends it up into both of the Dragon Slayers, who do end up blocking that first flip. Okay, NXT flying on over with the flurry, does end up getting a barrier for their troubles. The Expanse is going to end before grabbing any part of that ball. Big combo here from NXTD, but man, Enjo is actually just locked in right now with the Celestial Intervention. They're going to save one more time. The 1-2 punch on over to Twisty, almost makes it happen into the drone. They can't seem to maintain control here, though, as Weston is doing a really great job of defending. Now into the hands of Enjo one more time. Okay, see if they can make something happen. They Dragon Slayers do still have a barrier up, which is a really great buffer in this situation. And it's going to be just a slow burn right now to try to get this goal on through while Twisty is looking a little weak.
Twisty is taken off the map as well, and you can see that the Kittens are really just playing to not lose the point as it is right now. They're sitting in goal as 3 right there, and in the end get rewarded for it as they find the KO on Twisty. Power play now in their favor, and energy also looking pretty strong. Grimella has a flip available now, uses it immediately and gets the barrier, as Strike Shot Enjoyer is a bit late on the reaction there. Open nets on both sides now, and honestly, both of the goalies not necessarily great at dealing with open barriers, but both Weston and Strike Shot Enjoyer do a really good job at it. But NXTD finds a huge KO here, and as long as Weston can hold on to this point, they can even look for a goal to even out the set here. Scrimello sends it up, NXTD gets denied by the Expanse. Flip has to come out here, as the core still does get cleared now. Again, bouncing around in the midfield, not really finding any like lethal setup for either sides, as the goalies are just interrupting early enough each time.
Yeah, I mean, this is quite a long point here. Twisty almost makes it happen there with the Aya Rush, but not going to work out just yet. Expanse gone. Grimella approaching really hard here. Okay, NXTD is also in position. Had got the flip. Finds a kill, though. Spends the flip. Gets it through Striker Kai. And that was a tough situation to deal with after losing your goalie right there. I mean, yeah, the extra size might have just given it that primary enough range. And, I mean, the 3-stack surprise fighter, possibly 2 before that, but you know, Pummelers too, really just helping with a lot of that knockback, and boom, the stacks on stacks are reset for basically everyone. I mean, Twisty only has 60 stacks right now, 10 and I mean, it's really rough for Dragon Slayers right now. They need some sort of momentum shift here.
Yeah, but it's difficult to find that because Grimella is just all over the place with that size on all of his abilities, with that 150 stacks as well. NXTD ever present around the edges also. So it's so difficult to kind of walk up, get an attack going that's really lethal, because even if you get past both of the forwards there, Weston is on Mako. Mako is a really good defensive goalie as well, right? So you can't just casually shoot the core the way of the Mako and expect to get a barrier. You do need some sort of setup, some sort of like strong force. And if you're looking at the forward pair actually from the side of Dragon Slayers, you really only have like Kai Barrage, unless you're counting like in Centauro primary mix-up, but those can be defended against if Weston is properly locked in.
Yeah, it is definitely a rough situation here right now for Dragon Slayers, really. I mean, I feel like some of the only ways to get stacks on I mean, you have to kill them. Literally, the only way to get stacks on stacks off the opponent is to kill them. And having Atlas as your goalie, which is obviously a really good pick. I mean, super good defensive goalie. I mean, NXTD, man, making it happen once again with a dash punch combo. Oh, wow, nice Expanse, though, as my thought gets sent right into the ether. This ball is going to be saved here from Strike Shot Enjoyer, who really gets that astral projection to keep going. NXTD has a dribble here, but actually with the assistance of that barrage is going to keep this ball alive. NXTD is really like, yep, one strike away from getting that flip. Has it now. Tries to get the Giga Blast to sneak away to get this damn barrier off this Weston goalie, but they can't seem to make it happen just yet, as Twisty's taking a whole lot of extra damage as well. Spends the flip now. Okay, Striker Kai is really on the front end here to make it happen. Striker Enjoyer is getting super bullied by NXCD and has the flip to get it on through, and man, there you go. Really just the handless Kittens to just hand you a loss like that. Well played.
Yeah, NXCD just doing such a good job, just completely disallowing Strike Shot Enjoyer to do anything defensively. The moment you try to walk up and try to defend it, you're just met with a Julia, right? And then you can't really do anything. And that is already the game, right? It's a best of one. So Soon Handless Kittens do take a 1-0 position in the group. And as for format, that's really good, right? Because you do have 2 best of round robins to be played out within your pool, where the top 2 out of the pool overall will make it into the playoffs, and the bottom 2 go into the consolation bracket. So that first victory holds so much value to you, because if you go for another victory, you're guaranteed into the playoffs anyways. If you take a loss on the next one, it goes 1-1. We'll have to see how the group pays out, but starting off with momentum like this is definitely always great.
Oh yeah, and if we saw just a second ago there, Grimella having an incredible amount of redirects there, way more than everyone in the game there. So Grimella getting the MVP there, well deserved, well played. I mean, just the combination of Grimella with so much ball control and NXTD with just like the threat of killing you all the time. That's the Juliet zone is just the area right near the edge on every single map. So
Yeah.
you gotta watch out for that one. She was strong. I mean, with 3 stacks of prize fighter, she's kind of strong enough to kill you with all 3 of her moves if they all land. So you gotta be safe. Good picks, good play from Kittens. As we're about to move on here, though, I think we're gonna go just to a little break as we get the other team set up, get their bands ready to go, and I'm sure we'll be back in 3 or 5 minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to the Whammy Lab number 3 again. We just saw Soon Handless Kittens actually take it over at Dragon Slayers there, which is pretty cool. Up next, we got another good one. Last call against Wee's little baby little ferrets. What do you think here, Slav? What do you think we'll be able to see in this next match?
I feel like it's going to be an interesting matchup. Honestly, I just like seeing Last Call play as well. And I feel like, again, look, talking about the Awakenings, right? There were, again, pretty clear paths of what each team wanted, right? Ferrets ended up banning out the Deadeye into Stinger. Very KO-heavy Awakenings, saying, hey, we don't want to be dealing with that much damage dump at all. And Last Call ended up doing the opposite, saying we don't want Stagger Swagger and we don't want Fight or Flight, meaning we're not really in favor of a lot of speed here. So I'm going to be curious to see what the draft ends up looking like anyways, because again, very polarizing playstyles, what they want to go for here. And I've heard the Awakenings are also a bit polarizing, a little bit of a heavy impact and a rapid fire, weak Awakenings. I don't think they do much, do they?
Well, they might. They might have an impact. They might have a heavy impact on this game if I'm going to be completely fair about that. I mean, poor Ferrets, honestly, like they're just trying to get that damage out of there. And Deadeye Stinger. Oh, sometimes I forget about Stinger as an Awakening. That thing is nasty when it comes to dealing damage and getting those kills. And I mean, they get Heavy Fire Rapid. I mean, Rapid, has a lot of uses, obviously. There are a lot of defensive and offensive uses as it makes your primary 33% faster, which is really good. I mean, that's the fact that the thing hasn't gotten nerfed is actually crazy. That is a strong Awakening. But, banning Fight or Flight, honestly, my dogs. I as a goalie, Fight or Flight is a no-go for me. I cannot even, if that thing's on the board, I'm crying. I'm literally crying. So, Heavy Rapid, it's still damage. Both Heavy and Rapid can be a lot of damage. So apologies to Ferrets, but, we'll see what happens as LC might be looking to deal some damage.
Yeah, and it's going to be easy to deal damage with those Awakenings, because either you just have incredibly strong impact abilities with basically no cooldown, or you just basically have no cooldown on your primaries. So abilities are going to be tossed out left, right, and center here. And I do believe as well that we are on AtLab for this game, so it's also very, very much a map that can favor a KO playstyle, that can enable a KO playstyle. And can enable picks like Vice to work very well, which obviously is a huge enjoyer of the heavy impact. Now, I'm not sure if either side plays it, but I'm definitely looking forward to the potential of seeing it in such a KO heavy Awakening start.
Yeah, it will be super interesting to see. I mean, maybe even Frightfully Fresh will bring out that Vice. Vice goalie is also completely fair. I mean, she did get a little buffed here, 10% faster acceleration on the projectile. Was it needed? Was it necessary? Do we want that? Do we love Vice that much? I mean, these questions, possibly answered by the community themselves, not by me, but maybe somebody else who is a little bit more qualified. Maybe somebody like, Last Call or the little Ferrets here, as we're going to start off with a Kazan and an Atlas ban, which is fair. LC's definitely trying to deal damage, banning Atlas right off the bat. Ferrets not trying to deal with any of that Kazan garbage showing up. And there it is. Vice on deck for Last Call. Borg hitting it there, and it's going to be really good here for Borg. I mean, Jakar also got a little bit buffed there. I think the startup of the primary got a little bit faster as well. So that is interesting. I'm not sure if that makes Jakar 100% inward right now, but we will see it as we're about to show up here. A lot of, this might be a lot of damage. Again, Ferrets, try to survive, my guys.
Yeah, that is the name of the game for them. We have triple heavy impact on the enemy team, and they're just going to look to dump over and over again. So it's really going to come down to how well are you going to survive. I'm a little bit surprised that Ripstick ended up going for the strike shot here as well, because I could see a case for pauldrons with this much damage in the game. But we'll see how it plays out. Both sides lose one barrier, but no one really cares about the first one if you have a map with 2 barriers. What you do care about is your HP bars, and Overgrown Lemon right now needs to watch out for it, because no evades, no HP on board for them right now. Not looking very great.
Yeah, I mean, at least for little Ferrets, Rasmus is not going to be teleporting into you and killing you, so there's like a tiny bit of pressure relief there, although we do have Rasmus getting that kill there pretty easily. Frightfully Fresh making it happen as they're going to try to work on this power play here. Yeah, with the help of Threezy, who really just blasts the opponent. Actually grabs a power play that's going to extend a little bit farther there. Melon Lemon, not Melon, trying to get a sneaky goal there as Threes is going to make the mix-up on the bottom side of the barrier. Actually did get Ripstick to secondary, and helping the ball in there. Borg is going to secure that point. Last call on the board.
Point advantage for last call. Also, 2 flips available for both the forwards pretty soon. Meanwhile, on the side of her, it's not really a lot of HP nor evades to work with, as again, you can see the guy just no HP, no evades at all. Has to go get the enemy goalie orb, but oh my god! I'm talking about KOs, actually. I was just highlighting your great Julie dash punch there, but 3Z had something else to highlight there. Dracar damage being pretty strong. The second barrier drops as well. What's going on?
Wait. Arlong, kind of a genius right now, taking both of the barriers by themselves, keeping themselves alive just a little bit longer. Kind of weak right now, though, as, the Vice Primary is going to be the one to stagger them, but Ripstick keeps the ball alive with that strike shot. Okay, Fresh giving himself the ball here with a little bit of dribble. Arlong trying to give it over to Melon, but Melon not in a position to make it work there. Ripstick kind of kills their own teammate there by blasting the orb. Here comes Borg blasting a supernova as well, as this power play is most likely going to end here. Yeah, with a nice stun from 3Z getting into position there. Last call nicely taking that first set with a pretty explosive start. I mean, just with pummelers and heavy impact, I was watching Dakar's primary move the opponents pretty far. Those who are not staggered still quite far. So, hey, maybe Dakar is the one right now.
Yeah, maybe there's a little bit more damage coming into this rotation. Stagger Swagger is likely going to have to be denied by someone, or it's going to be picked up by someone, but you have a Prize Fighter, you have a Deadeye, 2 really strong Awakenings if you're just looking to dump damage as the Vice. Goes for the Fight or Flight, though. Again, makes sense. Fight or Flight is strong Awakening. You don't want to give people that much speed to be working with. So, Deadeye not being picked up in the end, although it's really only the Vice that would have enjoyed it out of this set. And other than that, I feel like it's just a pretty widespread of, like, movement speed and cooldowns, which is pretty much what we've seen most of the meta as well recently, right? Just have low cooldowns, have a lot of speed to be working with. So not a lot of change that time around. What has changed, though, are the evade bars from both forwards on the side of Hertz, as again, neither of them have any available. So you just have to play a survival game at this point.
Yeah, just was able to keep that second barrier alive at least. Although Arlong is just about out of here. Spends the primary, does not save the barrier there. Here comes the Atlas Orb. 3Z gets that kill as well. Power play goes right on through the... Okay, both players thought that... I think both players thought that the other one was going to move up and grab the ball, but neither ended up doing. Not on the right page right there. The ball's going to go on in there for last call. No problem. Yeah, really interesting pick, Fight or Flight, right, for Borg. You could have... It would have been pretty devastating with Deadeye there, but would like to take even more ball control, which is totally fair to... I mean, Fight or Flight is really incredibly strong. As they're going to grab 2 more power plays right now, they are looking relatively unstoppable as Ripstick tries to get the read on the Thunderstruck. But honestly, last call is looking like they are just a couple steps ahead right now.
Yeah, a few steps indeed, because it's just so difficult for the side of First to really stay on the map, as they get a Sad Boys angle as well, and Kai goes off the map. Just so difficult to stay on the map with all of this damage just coming out repeatedly. And again, keep in mind, it's heavy impact. So not only is it really strong damage, it also refunds your cooldowns almost all the time, as another clean strike from Borg will actually take this second set, and we're going into another Awakening draft that could snowball this even more, because there's so many Awakenings that they could get here that just do not help their case, like the missile propulsion, for example, on the Vice. Not easy to deal with that. Do wonder if they're going to opt into that, though.
Yeah, it could. You know, here comes the situation I was talking about during the break, bro. If Ripstick could get Orb Replicator and actually get a benefit out of it by being a full health goalie, healing the opponent, or healing the teammates, I think that would be an actually pretty good Awakening. They're going to take it here, which is relatively fair, but it just does not do kind of anything when you're full health and your teammates are dying. So I think that should be, you know, if anyone's listening, I think that should be the change on Orb Replicator. It should somehow heal your teammates more as a full health goalie, something, I don't know, do something with the mechanics. But either way, interesting Awakening draft here. Is not too much damage falls onto last call there, though, as they're going to grab both of the barriers. Oh, Arlong grabbing that one. Staying alive from that supernova as well. Both barriers down for the opposing team too. These little forwards trying to keep themselves alive here in this little bit of power play. 3Z Breezy kind of hitting the buttons right now. Gonna blast it on in there. Yes, sir. Locks and loads that ball right into the goal, right on past Ripstick. And here we are already in match point right now. And last call is looking kind of unstoppable right now.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, right, with these shortened sets, right, every single KO has so much more value because it leads to a barrier or a goal, and you just need less of them to actually end up winning. And if you're on the side of Furrets here, it's so difficult. Like, what do you play for here, right? Like, what is your winning avenue? Because no matter where you're going, you're under threat of being KO'd. Because there's so much power in this game specifically here that it's so difficult to deal with it. And even if you have an evade or have tools to work with, you have ice ultimates and stuff like that can force out your flip anyways. So it just gets so difficult. A huge KO for Arlong, actually, to now get a power play going, but they still need to find the barrier here. They do actually find it. Threezy has a flip, uses it for the KO, 2v2, and Borg is coming back on the field.
Yep, incoming Borg. Threezy does win that big strike where they're as well, grabbing the barrier by themselves. Fresh moving up to try to make this happen, try to end this game. Lemon spending the flurry to just try to hold the ball there, stall as long as they possibly can. Goes on in with the super surge, not the supernova, super surge to try to make it happen there as well. Borg loading up the motherboard is almost going to end the game, but hey, Ripstick keeps himself alive one more time. As it looks like Borg and Threezy are going to have to try to fight their way on through one more time here, though. Ripstick trying to defend with their life, out of strikes now, and that's going to be it. Last call secures this game, staying on the winner's bracket. Well-deserved. I mean, they simply play... I mean, they certainly got what they wanted, right? Like, the opposing team banned damage. Last call banned some healing and some speed, and then, boom, it was damage. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah, sometimes you just flip a coin and it doesn't really go your way, and you can see it as well in the stats here, right? Because we've been in this game for 8 minutes, right? It's not a very long game, but somehow the side of Last Call still accumulated a grand total of 12 KOs in 8 minutes. That's more than a KO per minute on average, and it's just so difficult to play into that. Like, what is your approach at that point, right? When you're just taken off the map continuously, and you don't have tools like a Now or an Atlas as a base kit to keep you alive, there's just really no winning avenues left for you anymore.
Yeah. I mean, look at the damage numbers are actually pretty funny here for the side of Weasel Little Furrets. I mean, everyone's got a little 4,000 action. They're really just trying to play ball, but man, the other team was not trying to play ball. You know, it is way easier to play ball when somebody's dead, literally dead, gone. So, you know, these power plays are really showing up, and they made the best of it. So, well played here for Last Call playing that damage build. I mean, it's nice to have a wider pool of characters, guys. I mean, damage, oh man, it is hard to counter on certain Awakening starts. You might have to expand your pool, you know, maybe try to work on a Finny somewhere to just try to counter things like Big Vice, or I don't really know. I'm not a genius here, but all I'm saying is damage is hard to counter, and when you want to play ball, it's really sad when your opponents are not playing ball and they're just killing you. So that was what we saw in that game, and either way, that was a rough one there, Slav.
Yeah. It's just difficult to play, but I think we hammered that point home enough already. In overall results, this means Last Call is going 2-0 and First is going 0-2. I do feel like that is... I'm not sure if it's confirmed at this point or if it's just very likely that now Last Call is going into the winner's brackets and Weasel Little First is going into the consolidation bracket. Consolation, that's a different word. Consolation bracket. But definitely a good showing for Last Call and a confident showing if they're going to go deeper in the playoffs here as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, they want to keep themselves alive in that bracket. They're certainly insured to make it on in there as well with that nice 2-0. But, you know, don't go anywhere, guys. Of course, we have a lot more games coming up here, though, and we will see you in just a few minutes as we load up these bands. And we're back once again here with Whammy number 3 getting on into this game. That last one was kind of explosive here, right? I mean, we just saw last call right there, kind of just doing just insane amounts of damage and just really making waves right there. But here we go. We got another last call game showing up right here against Heavy Metal Gundam. A couple of interesting awakenings here. Sloth, why don't you go ahead and bring us into what just unfolded?
Well, for the first time so far in the matchups, at least from the stream perspective, both teams are kind of on the same page because Last Call ended up taking out Stagger Swagger and Fight or Flight, while Heavy Metal Gundam took out Rezel and Reverb. So just basically, we want to get rid of everything that's just gonna keep you alive. They just want to play KO. At that point, really got like brought home by the fact that they ended up re-rolling the Awakenings twice. Both teams agreed on re-rolling the Awakenings twice because they just didn't get anything with damage. So now we're here with Heavy Impact and Siege Machine, which, hey, shocker, we've seen it just a little bit ago. Heavy Impact on Atlas's lab, slightly strong. And again, we're seeing a game plan unfolding here because you can see the striker draft ahead, directly in front of you. Atlas taken out, Mako taken out, both prime defensive goalies away. The Vice first pick, we're just playing damage. We're just looking to take out the enemy at this point.
Yeah, definitely both teams are just trying to start blasting the opponents off the board, as we see, as you are mentioning. I mean, Vice picked, yikes, get me out of here. If I'm anybody on this board, I mean, we have Finny for the other team, which is, okay, that's damage, acceptable. I mean, now is definitely a interesting pick, right? Definitely heals. That's cool. Smallest health pool ever. Well, what are you going to do? I mean, I think it might be bigger than Octavia or something, but either way, really small health pool, going to get blasted. Yikes. Then we also have a Drakkar showing up here for LC and Rasmus once again. They just actually played this whole comp literally last game, right? We'll see if Borg is hitting a Vice again. Maybe, I don't know. Someone else is playing something else. But this was the last comp of the game there. And we have X showing up for the Heavy Metal Gundam as well. X, again, kind of good at dealing damage, but really not good at getting away from damage. So I would maybe give this one to Last Call just on the most surface level here.
Yeah, Last Call just really enjoyed the last game so much. They just wanted to round back the exact same Awakening with the exact same draft, most likely. Yeah. So we'll see how they're going to deal with it, because this time around, they actually have a lot more hands being thrown back at them, right? The Finny and the X are really good at dealing damage, really good at taking advantage of these Awakenings as well, to just pump out damage as well. And you have a Now that can help with the healing a little bit, but don't underestimate Now's damage output with a Heavy Impact as well. Also, again, Now Heavy Impact is a really good combination because the cooldowns are just so low. So it's just going to be a back and forth of who's going to get the power play first, who's going to capitalize on the power play first. Overall, I think I would still agree with you. I'd favor Last Call. That's simply based off of the mobility of that team, though, personally, because I think X is just, as a baseline, very immobile. Finny is not the slowest character, but can't necessarily run up to enemy barriers when you position her in goal. So your only mobility really is the Now, and that's also just speed ups. On the other hand, you do have a bit more range on the side of Last Call. They're not really fast on a movement speed perspective, but all three of these characters have a decently wide and long range to be intercepting core and hitting the enemy with, which is definitely going to make their lives a lot easier.
Yeah, I will put a lot of not pressure really, but I will say that a lot of the Heavy Gundams here, it might rely on this Now. Now is the only one here who gets to kind of enable the X, is just straight up playing in the midfield and can heal the team and can teleport. So it's really just, we'll see how Hungry Boy can make it work, because I think the game obviously is not just going to rely on him, but it's going to be probably the biggest factor that I can see for Heavy Metal Gundam as they are finally entering into this game. Heavy Impact for everyone, gifts for everyone, Heavy Impact all over the place, vicious fan brace for Zay. Fair, actually just a fair awakening to take there, as they're going to get blasted for the most part. Tragic and Fresh both taking Powerhouse as well, just either getting more damage or trying to reduce taking damage, as well as, I mean, totally fair on that side too. As we do have Zay grabbing the last barrier here, goals open for Last Call. Let's see if Heavy Metal Gundam can make it happen though, as they get a kill. Yo, alright, starting off really nice, Heavy Metal Gundam with a power play. Let's see if they can sink this goal, because as we had mentioned a little bit before, 2 points per set makes power plays even more valuable.
A lot more valuable indeed, and also they're just coordinating damage again really well right now, as Borg is now taken down to basically 1 HP on Nova, now 1 evade, but it just makes it difficult to really play, because if you're actually stacking the damage correctly, you can take the power play you initially got to kind of like artificially enhance or extend the power play by just keeping the other forward low as well. So just continuously pumping out damage is going to make both of these teams' lives a lot easier, and you can see it so far from the side of Heavy Metal Gundam as they've been doing it. They've gotten the momentum going in their way, and they found the first goal here as well. Hungry Boy also has a flip available now.
I actually really liked what I saw there from Gundam, and we saw Hungry Boy spending a little bit of heals, keeping Zay alive. The fan brace actually was really great too. I think this could work. You know, they could deal a pretty solid amount of damage, and something with the Van Brace might be able to keep them alive too. And some really good uses of this now healing could also be what they need to turn the tides, as they already got 1 barrier down, actually 1 for both team there. 3Z looking a little bit weak, can't seem to play in the center of the field, and don't want to be too active in the ball, as they're going to take a bunch of random abilities. Borg spending the Supernova, Hungry Boy flips, Frightfully Fresh nowhere to be found there. Zay trying to deal a little bit of damage or knock Frightfully Fresh away. 3Z still looking quite low. A flip on Tragic could keep this alive, absolutely spending it there, but a counter flip from Borg is going to take that barrier. As we have already said so many times, the flips are also just as more valuable now as with these 2 points. So you're going to have to use these resources quite well. And the 3Z Breezy, oh my gosh, such a good ult into Tragic with a really great secondary to keep that one alive. Top-notch gameplay from both teams there to make that one work, and that's what I love to see, man. If they get 3Z Breezy out of here, this could be big. They can't seem to reach, though. Oh my god.
The flip is being used, gets a KO, and actually the core bounces its way towards Zay there as well to confirm the second goal and already the first set win. And we're going into a scary draft now, right? Because there's a lot of Awakenings that could find their way into the hands of a Now, like a Monumentalist maybe. I feel like that's pretty alright. That's pretty good. There's a Deadeye here as well. Both Finny and Vice would love that as a pickup. Rapid Fire to lower cooldowns even more. I don't think the KOs are slowing down anytime soon.
Honestly, I feel like this was a huge pick for Hungry Boy. Like, the amount of options that they had was kind of mind-boggling, right? Like, Monumentalist just enables Now to just do so much, even give wider healing, more damage and stuff. But Extra Special helps them get across the board, extra healing, all this extra movement as well, and keeps it away from Vice, who actually didn't end up getting it there. Either way, did land onto Tragic. But, you know, deciding to go Monumentalist, just going to enable a... Well, it did get nerfed a little bit, the secondary now to 10.5 seconds or something like that, but enabling the secondary a little bit more than the special is what they are prioritizing right now, and boom, Zay grabbing a kill there as I was a little bit distracted looking at the ball, and it's a power play one more time here for Heavy Metal Gundam, and they are just really good at dealing damage. They're really good at coordinating this damage with a team that does not seem to be like surface level like damage, right? Like we have Vice here, of course, who is the king of damage, right? And it's like Finny, I feel like Finny's damage is a little less consistent with her having just misdirection, stuff like that. But, you know, having the secondaries land really just add a lot more damage too.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage, and Tragic's just also been finding really nice hits with that Finny, just showing his expertise on the pick. And I feel like the side of Heavy Metal Gundam are also doing a really good job at pushing their damage onto the right target, right? Because who's the most difficult enemy to be dealing with when it comes to core control from the side of Last Call? It's gonna be the Strekar, right? His shotgun and everything just makes it so difficult to really like contest a lot of strikes and get the pressure going that you want to get. So they continuously just pump damage into 3Z and just take him off the map and then play off of that power play. I also it didn't end up working for Tragic there at that time, but I do want to point out he's been finding extremely good strikes against the Drakar shotguns. Already at least 3 or 4 potential goals just saved by really great timing on his strikes there.
It's great to keep in mind too. And Borg gets hit by kind of everything there. Hungryville also kind of gets blasted by the Supernova, but it's going to be Borg and 3Z who are looking quite weak right now. Tragic nicely keeping the ball forward there with the forward misdirect. Zay getting in there as much as you possibly can, spends the big finish. It's actually going to be a big disaster as Tragic is going to take their own barrier. Borg approaching here with 3Z, a big 2v1 situation. Nice strike there. He keeps himself alive with some good patience and ends up getting the kill too. Heavy Metal Gundam really in a great advantage right now. Obvious power play showing up, and we'll see if they can grab this last barrier. 3Z does have a flip, not going to spend it there. The orb is about to come up. Doesn't seem to interrupt the play yet, though, and now Borg is back with a vengeance, trying to destroy Zay, but you know, Zay does actually end up dodging a bunch of things. 3Z now just hanging out in the gold, ends up dodging a whole bunch of abilities there. Zay can't get their hands on them with that bell ringer. Hungry Boy also can't seem to maintain that barrier control either, as the ball's going to roll on over to 3Z, but they do keep it away. Everyone staggered here. 3Z, Zay, and Hungry Boy all completely staggered, trying to keep themselves alive against this big finish. The bell ringer also doesn't land. That Zay just spending moves kind of freely right now, just trying to kill 3Z, but can't seem to make it work. And a self-dribble from 3Z, who has been staggered for like 30 seconds, ends up getting the goal right on through with the shotgun. And that's, honestly, if you're Tragic, it's a little bit of a heartbreaker. That dude was staggered for so long, and he was just in position to grab the ball. So, hey, last call. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the reason why they weren't able to win this set anyways, or at least this point, because they just used so many abilities trying to get 3Z off the board, but 3Z just wouldn't die. He just kept on staying on the map, staying alive, and now 3Z actually is picking up his second spark, being Spark of Resilience, so killing this Drakkar is gonna be a lot more difficult now as well. On the other hand, you do get a Stagger Swagger for now, which is gonna make it easier for Hungry Boy to do what he wants to do as well. And obviously, again, just damage. Like, Spec on Vice, the Explosive Entrance on X, the numbers on the damage are not going to go any lower, but at least now both midfielders have utility to stay alive.
Yeah, I really like the pick there from Zay as well. Explosive Entrance giving X just the one thing that he's kind of missing, which is mobility. Gets a little bit of extra movement on the Explosive Entrance with the Bull Rush. It's going to be quite nice for Zay to get in there, get out of there, and just... I mean, look at that, covering half the board right there. Actually, the big finish is also going to help get that kill. Fresh can't seem to beat all of these strikes, and it's going to be a really good one from Zay to get it onto the top side there. Yeah, as you mentioned before, they were kind of killing Drakkar. You know, they were doing damage to 3Z, trying to keep him out of the game, but now he's immortal. This Spark of Resilience is giving him like 2,000 health. Not 2,000, obviously, but, you know, a ton of health, and it's going to be basically immortal, as he's going to get a kill of their own and get KO'd as well. The simple 2v2 right now, but Borg is also not even really able to play, as Tragic going to try to snipe once more in this 2v2. Not going to happen. Fresh gets a little bit overrun as Zay comes back to make it happen here. Hungry Boy on the front side to keep that ball on in there too. Hands of Tragic now. The big finish going to try to make it happen. Okay, nice redirect there from Frightfully Fresh. Going to keep the speed to get the ball onto the other side as fast as physically possible. 3Z looking a little bit weak even through this quote-unquote immortality I'd mentioned a little bit, but it's going to be a tough point, as 3Z could just end up in the spot just like last time, surviving and scoring the goal. Who knows?
Yeah, because the thing is, he has a lot of HP going for him, but ultimately there's so much more damage coming out from the Finny and the X as well, that it's just going to take a bit longer until he dies. He's still going to die eventually. And so is Borg, as Borg is now down to no evades again. HP is getting low. A huge snipe though from 3Z actually will take the second barrier, and Tragic doesn't get there in time to even out the set now. Really well played from 3Z there to take that goal.
Yeah, wow. Super good future sight there from 3Z, getting that Molten Bolt to score that one on the barrier, and Tragic just couldn't make it in time. Another big finish coming out, as we do have Finny with the extra special. Going to have that one every single point. Tragic alone with 3Z, but actually gets it right on through. Zay is now going to get their hands on the ball, try to give it to Hungry Boy, keeps it in with the X Maximus, loses one barrier in return. Hungry Boy also trying to keep it in. Borg looking a little bit weak, but ends up dodging a couple abilities from Hungry Boy. Tragic, once again, the big finish shows up, but 3Z wins that situation, although Borg looking really low right now, as Zay is going to actually end up going for the orb and ends up in a pretty solid position to maintain control of this ball. Fresh does keep this barrier alive, though, as Borg is finally staggered, but they're doing a ton of damage to Zay and Hungry Boy. Tragic might find themselves alone in just a moment.
Yeah, and it's just... It just feels... I can't imagine how weird it would be to actually play out a game like this, because it just really comes down to damage. It's just really always who gets more damage out. It's so different from what you're kind of used to with, like, oh, we gotta play for core, get a proper setup going. It's really just, hey, we're gonna throw hands and someone's gonna fall eventually.
That's facts. I've seen the players ignore the ball more than once already and just try to deal damage, and it has actually worked out. Each time they have ignored the ball, they really have gotten a kill. Hungry Boy weak now, but using that secondary to get on out of there. But Borg supernovas Tragic on off the board. Okay, nice secondary there from Hungry Boy, and a couple of help strikes there from Zay. Spends the flip, can't get on in there, but the ball just gets passed right in the hands of Borg. Sends it on in, and boom, that's your set right there. Last call looking good as they're going to pick up another Awakening. Yeah, catastrophic situation where Vice gets to pick the first. Well, I guess it might have been worse, actually, if Threezy could pick the first, as Sparks are on the board. But yeah, I mean, Vice is about to possibly adrenalize this game.
Well, the thing is, Threezy is not first pick, but there's 2 Sparks in here, and there's only 1 pick for Tragic, so Threezy's just gonna get 3 Sparks. Like, either he gets really fast or a lot more damage. So this is Spark of Strength going in the way of the Threezy here as well. Triple Spark Rekar with Spark of Strength in such a damage-heavy lobby. Ooh, it's gonna be a bit rough. Other than that, though, Reverb gonna help Borg stay alive a little bit longer. Adrenaline Rush could snowball really well for Zay here as well. And Hungry Boy picking up the Monk Titans here, actually, giving a little bit more mobility and more size to both of his teammates, as now Tragic and Zay both are honestly pretty massive. But that Vice ultimate was even bigger, as Borg finds the KO on Zay seemingly cross-map.
Yeah, both teams just end up finding ways to deal more damage via drafts, if it's speed, if it's Adrenaline Rush, if it's just Reverb getting cooldowns. I mean, oh, okay, Fresh grabbing a kill, but here it is. That's it, right there. That's the explosive entrance necessary for getting that goal. Zay gets on in there, Superman's that one right on through. Rightfully Fresh nicely, and to keep Heavy Metal in this game. Yeah, this Adrenaline Rush could get a little out of hand here. Tragic had to take some size, but look how big this Finny is right now. Possibly winning some strike wars there, but maybe even an easier target just to get themselves killed. Is the big finish going to come out, trying to help it with the X Maximus? Borg loads up the Supernova, flip on out, hits the orb, possibly not looking for that situation, although it is in the hands of Threezy, and I think Tragic might have just landed a misdirection there to score the kill on to Borg right there. It's going to be a power play, see if they can get it on through. Tragic has flip, we'll see if they can use it to help get this last barrier, the big finish. They survive that big finish with a couple of really nice, not stacked strikes and hits to keep that barrier alive. 2 flips for the side of Gundam. See if they can get it past Borg right now in the hands of Zay. We're going to get a pendulum swing to interrupt this moment. They are kind of sticking on top of each other, though, and the Supernova comes out, and now it's a lot of damage being sent onto Gundam. Last call, maybe an advantage even after losing this barrier, though. We'll see.
Yeah, the flip comes out from Tragic here as well. They still have a barrier on the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, but I don't know for how long anymore. As now the attack's coming through from last call. Device Primary actually, I think, just barely misaligns it to save the core, but it's still a power play in favor of last call here, and Threezy's just fiending for the score. He's just waiting up front to shotgun it right in, as he now finally get access to the core, but Zay's back on the field. Flip comes out from Threezy and does score it, as now last call is 1 goal away from taking this game and taking the first seed out of this group.
And nice one there from Borg. Gets it right on through both of the forwards there. Hungry Boy did take a Among Titans. They are a tiny little now. Okay, there goes Zay right on off the map. The Vicious Fan Brace ain't going to keep you alive against that one, though. Threezy and Borg. Oh my god, they actually find the next kill here. It's just Tragic alone and a little bit of a dream. They might even be able to just do damage to Tragic. Okay, actually, Zay does make it back in time. No cooldowns left to deal all that damage. A flip right on the front lines here from Fresh, but Zay does keep it alive with the X Maximus. Possibly a necessary situation to stay alive in this game. Tragic large, able to hit this ball nicely. All 3 players of Heavy Metal Gundam have returned to the field. Really good secondary drone there from Hungry Boy. That Monumentalist really paying off. Fresh trying their best to keep this ball away from Zay right now as they're getting on in with that explosive entrance. It's tough situation to keep it away from this X as the orb is going to go off and deal a ton of damage to Gundam. Tragic has to use the flip to keep themselves alive here. Zay getting kind of knocked around the board. It's going to be a tough one here for Heavy Metal Gundam. They got to clear this one more time, and actually Borg gets in with that primary. Hey, maybe it was that 10% faster power cord that actually made it so Tragic could not react in time, but there you go. Last call over Heavy Metal Gundam with just the most unbelievably explosive gameplay. That was damage, if I ever saw one.
Yeah, that is a lot of damage. Keep in mind, this was a 15-minute game, and we have 2 players in this game that have over 30k damage, almost 3. Tragic is just a little bit short, but that was a lot of damage being pumped out continuously, which again just kind of drives home the point of how difficult that must have been to play out. Also, I'm a little bit sad we didn't go to set 5, simply because I saw the potential of the highest value orb replicator ever on 3Z, because his base HP was so massive. I could have actually made a difference, but alas, we didn't go there. Also, Zay with a perfect 30k. You don't really see that one often.
I love the perfect 30k. Like, the real question is, who actually won that game? Was it the guy with the perfect numbers? Hey, maybe. Although, we do actually end up seeing Borg, the MVP of this game. Last call, taking it there. Well played once again. Just playing that damage comp they just did really nicely. I mean, 3Z playing Drakkar, that's a character we really don't see that much. You know, got a little buffed, and we are seeing it. Maybe he's the one right now. Maybe he's good as a midfielder once more. I know a European gameplay really does kind of feature Drakkar a little bit more, but not too much around here. Either way, we are going to probably go to another break right now because we have more players to load up some of these bands and get them ready and on in that lobby. So once again, we shall see you in just a couple of minutes.
きらんない思い抱えてなんとなく過ごした日々説明のつかない感情難しい言葉などいらないと気づいたんだ茜に染まった過去と今を癒さしたは修練の炎と心とも魂を燃やせ尽きない命と共に奴を道連れに最高のシャワータイムこの世の終わりが不死の呪いどちらかが勝利を収めるこの炎は消えない大嫌いだった月も人も少しは許せたかな恨むことにも飽きたしたださまようだけの抜け殻には興味がないの不自然に揺れる森の先へ突き立てた指豪華に抱かれる準備はいい魂を燃やせ生きてる証を探そう
What's up, everyone? We are back once again here with Whammy Strikers, or sorry, Whammy Lab number 3. I'm just like reading this thing. Whammy Lab number 3. We had a pretty crazy game there with a lot of damage, and boy, it just might not be stopping. We are about to get 3 switches against Heavy Metal Gundam, and Sloth, it's happening again, dude.
It might happen again, as our opening match for this best of 3 now is going to be on Demon Dice. So it might be a bit KO heavy. It might be going a little bit more haywire. This time around, though, there's no awakening bans being put into place, so there's a possibility of getting a more passive awakening start. But it's Demon Dice. It's naturally going to be KO heavy, with the exception of like maybe a Stagger Swagger start. It's going to come down to the same thing we've seen before.
Yeah, it just might be. You know, sometimes you really just can't avoid the awakening start, what you're trying to do, the awakening drafts. They do what they do, and you will adapt around them no matter what. You know, we got Von Y'all Von Bells, pretty classic team, Tragic Hungry Boy and Zay for Heavy Metal Gundam. You just saw them hitting it there and doing a pretty damn good job. They're here in the winners semifinals right now, as we're finally feeling the conclusion of this tournament. Only a couple more games left here before a winner is crowned the champion of killing everybody, because that seems to be the theme here.
So far, most definitely, right? And we'll have to see. The thing is as well, right? The other maps that have been drafted, we have DD for an opening game. After that, we're going to a bit more of a calm night market. And if it goes to a game 3, we're going back to an Atlas's lab. And I mean, we've seen the last 2 games on Atlas's lab. We know what'll happen there if we do get to that game 3. So curious to see how it's going to go. Honestly, I also just haven't seen Demon Dice in a competitive environment for a bit. That's mainly just due to the tournaments I've been following. I haven't really been seeing it be played that often, so I'm curious how well it's going to translate. And I'm also curious how well it's going to translate with the 2 goal sets, right? Because Demon Dice can be quite heavy in the momentum. When you do get the core onto the enemy side, it's so much easier to keep it there compared to other maps as well. You do have some behind the back clears that it can be playing for as well, but if the teams are playing properly against that, it's just a really difficult map to get out of your own half if you don't have a KO found or some kind of like very strong force going through the enemy midfield there. So intrigued to see how both teams are going to be approaching this draft and how well they're going to be executing it as well.
Yeah, it will be definitely important to see. First game here is going to be pretty important, to make it here into the finals, as we do have, like you said, 2 point for each set, which is big difference here. Shortens the game a lot. The resources are way more useful, and on a map like Demon Days, yeah, it's like, yeah, I haven't seen it in a while either. Honestly, I feel like people just really don't pick it, which is fair. Do not start picking it because of me. It's fine. It really, I'm happy. I'm happy like this. But Awakening's showing up among Titans, and the superiest surge you've ever seen. Banning out X, banning out Atlas. Not trying to deal with any of that stuff though. We do have now Drakkar and Luna for the 3 switches, and Finny, Rasmus, and Asher for Heavy Metal Gundam. Kind of interesting. I think both teams, I guess 3 switches feels like they have a little bit more consistent damage, though. I will probably give it to them to start, but either way, it's going to be pretty interesting. Double mag souls for the side of 3 switches, and 1-1 for the side of Heavy Metal Gundam. We got Powerhouse here, and we have eject, but even eject button is kind of interesting on this map since everything is so close quarters, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, eject button Luna is the Omega classic, as we already see him flying on in there to try to get that barrier, but a really good defense, although Bells on the front lines, not giving that position up, is going to maintain that barrier. And that's huge on this map. When the barrier is down, you have to back up so much farther. When your barrier's up, you get to play almost midfield, and we'll be able to see those kinds of differences show up a lot.
Yeah, most definitely. And you can also see the KOs just being found. It's the damage is being put out so well from the side of 3 switches here. Also, maybe I'm just not a knower. I didn't expect Yal to see him out of net. I thought he was going to be in net, but I was wrong there, and we'll see how well it's going to translate as well, as the Now, I feel like, on this map just has so much value as well, because you don't have a lot of space to be playing with, which just adds so much more pressure for the Now with her abilities that just cover so much area as well. So the Finny ultimate also holds a lot of value on this map as well, though. As you saw with just that barrier, you can just kind of keep the core on top of the barrier so consistently, and Hungry Boy just kind of showed us why Finny is a pretty strong pick on this map as well.
Yeah, this is actually a role swap that they're going for the next season, actually. Y'all in net, or sorry, y'all out in net, Vaughn in net. Bell's continuing to play the Brawler as well. So that's what they're going to try to keep working on, get a lot more practice with that, because that's what they're going to be running in the next national season. And it'll be pretty interesting to see y'all out of net and see what they do. Vaughn flying across the entire board. Y'all looking really weak right now. Zay is going to be looming here with that primary, but y'all does survive that situation. Has a lot more time to deal with here as we get the path splitter that does not actually end up working out. Really great clear from Vaughn. But Zay does have flip. They're going to have to spend it here as they're just a little bit weak, but Bells wins the situation with that strike. Although they do end up triangulating the ball right on over to Zay, who reacts nicely with that hit onto the top side, and they grab a point in a really tight situation where I thought it might have been lost.
Yeah, Vaughn being there a little bit too focused on getting Zay out of net, trying to go for a KO there potentially, and not quite able to get to the core when he needed to at the right time there, as somehow the barrier doesn't get tagged there, as the Finny ultimate will not actually find it. Also, I'm curious to see how much that teeny tiny little bit of size difference for Tragic is gonna do, because if you haven't noticed, everyone has gone among Titans with the exception of Tragic.
Yeah. Tragic is enjoying the 30% extra size there given from the teammates. And I think that's really pretty strong on Rasmus goalie, also taking Super Surge, which is pretty solid on Rasmus as well. Gets a lot more speed there to try to help mitigate some of the non-ranged capabilities here from Powerhouse Baldrins. But ending out this set here, Bell's grabbing the MVP, striking onto that heavy impact, which is so good for Jakar. Really gets those cooldowns going if you hit two people with that primary, and it just does 20% more damage, and that is kind of a lot when we're playing for those kills. Stagger Swagger stolen away from the goalie, trying to make those forwards not try to enjoy any of that Stagger Swagger. Size for Asher, which is just quite good, but maybe a target easier to hit for the side of three switches. We'll see if any of these awakenings have a huge bearing in this game. Hungry Boy did take stacks too, which is a good, relatively dangerous pick on Demon Days, as if they, you can coordinate damage nicely with your team and end those stacks on stacks for any player that you so choose. So we'll see if they can hold on to those for a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, most definitely. But I do feel like, looking at the draft as a whole, the three switches they just got cooldowns, right? They got rapid fire and they got heavy impact on Bells. Bells also on the Drakkar, even more of a damage menace now and KO menace with that extra impact. As Vaughn actually stays up front and intercepts the hook from Tragic really well. Really good decision making there as well, as they take a 1-0 lead in this set.
Yeah, that was actually just like really a solid play there. Even if Vaughn just went to go stun Tragic, either way, blocking the Death's Touch 2 was just a really wonderful benefit there. And that's what you can get from those eject button Lunas, as we're going to get back and try to defend ourselves. Man, y'all just gets kind of eradicated from the Path Splitter and a couple of team combos there. Instant death for now. Okay, Bells is gone. Bells has left the building unwillingly, as the Tragic sends him on over there, and they grab that one pretty easily in a 2v1. That was a really clean point right there from Gundam.
Yeah, really clean, and more importantly as well, Zay was able to hold on to his flip there, and he's immediately pinned the target on his back because of that, as a lot of damage gets dumped into him. The Luna ultimate coming out as well, but not really enough to get Zay out of the map, but Hungry Boy will leave the map. As the barrier, though, is down on the side of three switches here. They do need to make use of this power play if they do want to take home this set.
Yeah, tough situation with this power play, though, against a team like three switches. We've been together for so long. Really great synergy, although a lot of good players on Gundam as well, as they're going to try to make this happen with an extra stun from Y'all, and Vaughn gets the flip right on the front side, taking that next set already, making Demon Days really work for this team. Vaughn getting credit for this MVP. Now gets to get any awakening that they want. Luna can experience joy and happiness with something like Deadeye, specialized training. I mean, going straight to that Deadeye, making all of your abilities just unreasonable. I'll go with unreasonable with that one, as Zay is going to try to take some ball stuff. Well, we'll see if they can. I mean, they're gonna have to take some health. I mean, denied from y'all though, they are going to have a tough time surviving this Deadeye. That's the thing to be looking out for here.
Yeah, that Luna is gonna hurt, and Vaughn has been finding a lot of ability hits as well on that Luna already, so it's gonna be difficult to stay on the map now for the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, but they'll have to find a way somehow, because if they can't stay on the map, they're gonna lose this game in a 3-0 fashion, and you don't really want to be doing that, as Zay's down is being staggered already. Does have a recovery drone to keep him alive for once, but you would hate to lose it this fast into the set.
Yeah, certainly. Set has just started. Size Asher would be vulnerable to falling off the map, but keeps himself alive just for now. Bell's doing a whole lot of damage to the enemy team right there. Again, with that second shot, just a lot of damage, and it's a good position on behind the barrier. Bell's looking a little bit weak, though. They could probably find a kill. Ends up evading the big finish, but can't evade the Death's Touch there, as Tragic's going to end Bell's career in this literal 1 point. As it's going to go into a power play, see if they can get this last barrier. Although we do have Hungry Boy surviving that situation with the help of Tragic, they're going to keep that barrier alive. Again, so valuable to have a barrier on this map. It makes it so you can still maintain control midfield and have some presence around there, as everyone is going in on the top side to do eventually, with that determination, get that barrier. Vaughn might spend a flip here. Absolutely did it before I could even mention that this could be a good position to get the ball on out and close to the opposing goal. Y'all does have a flip as well. Let's see if they can make some good use of it here, but Zay is just being a large... Okay, actually just right past Zay, no problem. Down on over to Hungry Boy. Travis going to try to keep it on in there with the whiplash. Doesn't seem to work out, but smashes the ball onto the bottom side, though. A flip from Y'all and an assist from Bells is actually going to get that point on in there. I did not really see them scoring from that position, but these are good players, guys.
Yeah, I did not see that angle either, but we've been proven wrong, and Yal needs to watch out now, as almost immediately the entire HP bar is gone. He is on that now that can help himself a little bit with staying alive, and actually the KO being found in favor of 3 switches here, as Vaughn has just turned fully into Brawler here, walking up, staying on top of enemy barrier, as Yal now back to being full HP as well, but now just showing its value here. Bell's actually being more in a goalie position here, as 3 switches are rotating around rolls so efficiently as well, as they try to get the second barrier pop here. They don't quite get it. Zay has to flip, but again, evades are gonna be low on the side of Heavy Metal Gundam, and they're just gonna have to watch out for all this damage that's gonna be pumped into them repeatedly.
Yep, there you go. Bells, noticing the staggered opponent, is going to spend that primary and lock and load that kill right on up. Zay looking a little bit weak, tries to go for the orb and successfully does. Gets knocked all over the place, even gets knocked against the wall, and it's just the angle that's going to kill them. On over to Y'all with that teleportation. They have a 2v3 here. If Vaughn can get involved, a 3v2 would be just enough, and there you go. Getting that ball right on over to Bells, securing that game in a, again, pretty dominant fashion with a lot of damage coming out. I mean, you couldn't predict Vaughn, the Luna, getting Deadeye. It's, you know, these things happen. It is a rough situation, but that is what you can expect from, you know, players like Vaughn. You know, it's actually making it happen to get the MVP. That's the big thing, right? Getting the MVP and getting the first pick of the Awakenings is going to make a character like Luna way more deadly than, well, some other characters. So, well played there from 3 switches.
Yeah, really well played, and a deserved lead in the series, right? The Demon Dice, however, is going to be a very different game compared to what's going to be coming up in the night market, more than likely. But also, I want to point out, Bell's being the only one to actually finish the KOs for the set of 3 switches, so really good part there in understanding the jobs as well, because their car has the easiest time finishing off a KO together with that shotgun, right? So Vaughn just continuously damage dumping. Yal actually has a pretty good amount of damage as well, just because of the amount of players that are going to be on top of each other continuously, and the AoE from now coming out just going to do so much for them as well. Belch just finishing it off in the end. Even though the damage numbers between the two teams are roughly comparable, it's just about finishing off the KOs that 3 switches was able to do so much more better than Heavy Metal Gundam in this first game.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Bells was exactly where they needed to be when finishing off these kills. And like you mentioned, yeah, all the players are kind of on top of each other. I wish they had a heal meter, honestly, in this game. I mean, we got a couple characters like heal. Guys, can I have some heal meter here? I want to see what y'all was doing there to keep themselves alive. But either way, maybe 2026, we will see a heal meter show up for the end credits here. Although we are about to get into the next game, like you said, here we're going to Night Market, which is not Demon Deus. It is not a I'm going to kill you immediately map, but we did see a little bit earlier NXCD was kind of making it a kill map. I mean, the Juliet started the game off with Pummelers and Prize Fighter, had 3 stacks first point. He was just doing dash punch flip. That dash punch flip crazy. And we might be able to see that again. I mean, Juliet is pretty solid on Night Market. You know, same with X, right? Like they don't really have a lot of mobility, but having the speed gate is what enables them to just like get right into the goalie's face and just kind of end that situation with a bull rush or a dash punch. Grab that barrier, grab whatever you want. It's just like really big single plays that you can expect from Juliet there. We might see it. It's a good map for her.
Yeah, definitely a good map, and I do expect her to have some presence in this draft, as we do have the Awakenings for this game now as well, with Big Fish and Spark of Focus. I feel like a pretty middle-of-the-roads type of Awakening start. Like, this can go anyway, really. Most of the brawlers are good with size. Obviously, X and Julie are just really good brawlers overall on this map, so they're probably going to hold some prio, especially if they do have some size to them. But due to the spark start, the cooldown spark start especially, you can kind of go every single way here. So I do wonder where the prize are going to be when it comes to banning here, as Heavy Metal Gundam will get the first ban, and after that the first pick as well. Wouldn't even be surprised if they're looking to prio stuff like the Now again, potentially. Just because the Now, it's just so good as it is right now, because I don't know if it's the current like format or if it's just the current meta overall, but these games are going fast and they're going damage heavy. And Now does so well into it. We've seen it so in every single gamer Now has been picked. She's been doing such a good job at keeping alive while still being a damage presence. And it looks like Heavy Metal Gundam are agreeing with me here, because they just took out Now. They're not looking to first pick it, but they don't want the side of 3 switches to have access to it either.
Yeah, fair assumption there. Now is definitely one of my favorite characters I have on my team. She is definitely all over the place and does everything pretty damn good. So fair to be banned out right now. So, and also hitting that Rasmus, trying not to make too big of a Rasmus with the Big Fish start. Although Asher is just as annoying as a character like Rasmus sometimes with the Big Fish. We do see Dubu showing up here, possibly a huge Dubu, do huge. We will see it coming out here. No Kazan ban. That's my least favorite thing to ever see is size start Kazan in my face. So we'll see if that shows up. Although we do have an Estelle pick, which did get a little bit nerfed. I think her ult actually got an increased cooldown by like a second or something like that. They were like, oh, it's too good, but whatever. Atlas also bringing out for this Heavy Metal Gundam team. That's another like pick that always is banned these days, right? Like people love the Atlas. He is so good at defending and intervening celestially, right? He's just kind of a real good jack of all trades.
Yeah, he just does so much for the team, especially, again, he counters KO if with the ultimate, does so much to keep the team alive or even save them from KOs. And there's really just not an easy way to force through an Atlas. When you're going up against an Atlas, you need to play around them almost all the time. So definitely not surprised that he keeps draft presence and is being picked up here. I'm a little bit more surprised by the Vice pick up here for the side of Heavy Metal Gundam. It's gonna be likely in the midfields, because otherwise you just have an Atlas and Asher forward. That's gonna be way too immobile, in my opinion. So I'm curious how well that's gonna translate. There is KO potential there though, because you're going up against a Dubu, Estelle, and a Kai. So not necessarily the best characters for just staying alive flat out.
Yeah, but that is a pretty hefty amount of ball control, I will say. Although interesting with no straight up brawler. I'm gonna go ahead and say I mean, are we gonna see bells on Dubu? I mean, maybe giant Dubu bells. I guess maybe. I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised if we see. It's probably just gonna be a Estelle goalie then. Either way, so we'll have Dubu and Kai forward for 3 switches, which would be my guess. And a pretty standard rotation here of Atlas as the goalie for the opposing team. Yeah, Dubu Brawler. I mean, thoughts on Dubu Brawler?
I actually feel like it's pretty okay on specific maps, right? Because if you think about it, how do you defend against a well-executed Dubu? He can stop the core in front of you almost all the time. He can just shoot a wall at you. The Tofu Fortress is just not necessarily easy to defend against. And if you just think about it conceptually as well, if you're going up against a wall like the Atlas, what's the best way to go through the wall? Just put down your own wall and have the core bounce around, because the Dubu wall actually stays longer than the Atlas expands. So I'm curious how well they're going to be able to execute it here as well, as a KO actually almost immediately gets found by Hungry Boy. Yal being a bit, Vaughn being a bit too close to the edge there.
Yeah, Bells, yeah, we definitely on this Dubu right now. Dubu is not too good at living in any situation. He's not super good at killing either. He's just going to kind of be annoying. He's going to be in the way. He's going to be big. He's going to be able to block those lanes, right? With a pretty solid size and the log, especially with the ult. He can block off a whole lane by himself, but he's not going to be aggressive. He's not going to be too defensive either. He's going to be on the front lines for the most part, but it actually was y'all on the Estelle and Vaughn on the Kai goalie, so that's kind of interesting as well to keep in mind. Zay has a flip, but they can't seem to maintain control of this ball, trying to get it over to Zay. Okay, up on over to Hungry Boy, who's almost got a flip going here, possibly a strike or two. There it goes. Flip's coming out in hot here. Bell's just taking a ton of damage. Zay flips, hits everyone, including the ball, and gets it on in there. Did not see Zay getting the ball in that spot, but well played there. I think it was Tragic that really got the ball on over. Well, really good, really good, really good. I did not see that coming there, but Zay had that flip when they needed to, and we just, how many times are we going to say it? Flip is so much more valuable in these sets.
Yeah, most definitely. You can see it even there, by the way. Zay was just dumping damage into Vaughn and just giving Vaughn the treatment of a goalie, right? Saying, hey, look, right now, both of my midfield and my goalies are doing a really good job controlling the core and holding on. I'm just going to damage you, and you're just going to have to kind of sit there and take it, because if you leave the goal, we're just going to score on you, and that's exactly what happened. Here, though, we can see the strength of the Dubu forward, actually. As you can see, it's just such a nuisance to get the core past. It's just not really easy to deal with that, right? As Bells now takes both of the barriers, has a flip available to his name as well, and almost gets a KO there, because another thing I wanted to point out is Dubu actually has a decent amount of KO pressure. Just think of his like roll ultimate combo like a Julie dash punch, right? And on a map like Night Market, where you're gonna find people close to the edge often, it's not out of the question that the Dubu's gonna be able to find a KO or two there as well.
It definitely can work. I think it is only a true combo with Castellast, which he does not have just yet. I think you can evade through it if you don't have it, but either way, it is a little shocking to get hit by Dubu like that and just be like, oh, he's about to kill me? What, Dubu? Yeah, it does happen sometimes. Bells trying to get the ball on forward here. One more barrier on the bottom side. I mean, this is what I expected from Dubu. Just gonna get it blasted. I mean, there goes the ult. Not really in a good position. He's just really slow. His ult is slow. Yeah, so there he goes, right on off the map. Bells experiencing Dubu forward a little bit there. Okay, Vaughn smashing the flip button there, knocking Hungry Boy out of the way, trying to keep this barrier with their life. They do. Y'all taking the goal position there, as they are incredibly 3 switches right now. They can all play just about every role. As they finally maintain a little bit more control here, though, with the Supernova almost grabbing the barrier. 3 goalies right now, but now Bell's going to try to get the ball away. Tragic's going to approach, but Zay and Hungry Boy making that one happen. Another kill onto Bells, and I think Dubu forward could be a hard character to play, considering he has no stats.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit difficult. You can also just say we're scaling, right? Who knows? Maybe the right awakenings will make it a lot more easier for Bells, but it is just really a thing of huge hitbox together with that big fish as well, and not small amounts of damage coming out from this Vice, which makes it a bit more difficult. But as it stands right now, 3 Stitches are still holding on to this barrier, and so is Heavy Metal Gundam, right? No one's really willing to give this barrier, no one's really willing to give that momentum and give this first set, as it's just kind of bouncing back and forth. Bells actually does find the bounce to take the barrier, but now there's still a goal to find, right? Tragic's still gonna be on that Atlas, still gonna be able to hold it down so consistently. So we'll see if Yal and Bells can set themselves up for success here, as Bells is now in front of the net with a Dubu ultimate. Not sure if it's on cooldown. There it is. The core gets forced in, and for good measure takes a KO on Tragic as well, as 3 switches now will take a set lead.
Well played from Vaughn there, too. keep that ball into Bell's hand as they're spending that ult, getting a kill, getting the MVP as well. Vaughn being really quite active, has a spark, and there is at least one spark on this map, possibly going to go for it. But maybe there is a little bit of priority here. Maybe ensuring that Dubu gets something good. Going for the Stagger Swagger is a little bit interesting here. Vaughn still is not picked. Has sparks. Vaughn is still not picked yet. Deciding to go specialized training to try to keep themselves alive against this fight. Because certainly Bells is getting blasted mostly in the face. So it's gonna... This Stagger Swagger is probably quite valuable for Bells to keep them alive here. And speaking of damage, you had mentioned a little bit earlier, Hungry Boy taking Siphoning Wand, sacrificing all movement that you could possibly have as a forward gear to just get Omega kills and a little bit of healing. Actually, people were just saying at one point this thing healed even more than like Vambrace, so maybe it'll also keep Hungry Boy alive and just deal a ton of damage. I want to see some crazy stuff here coming out from Bells, but they're going to have a tough time as they are already in a power play. Unfortunately, Vaughn is going to be the one taken off here, but y'all kind of a goalie and Dubu. You know, you have a goalie player and a Dubu. This might stay alive. Although, Tragic, hey, making that really good move up. And man, that gave them the whole point. Tragic, MVP of that moment there. I'll give it to him.
Yeah, just really showing the value you can bring even out of a defensive goalies if you just have an extremely strong offensive positioning, right? Because Tragic at that point still had both of his barriers. He knew, hey, even if the core goes past me, at most I'm losing a single barrier. And what are the upsides of me walking up? We can just win the set flat out, or win the point flat out. And win the point they did, as now both barriers did drop on the side of Heavy Metal Gundam here. Bells walking up with a flip as well, tries to maybe get the goal here. Flip coming up from Zay, trying to find the KO, but Bells holds on for now as the self-pass with the primary almost works. The flip goes a bit south there. Three switches are now holding on to the core. Still, Heavy Metal Gundam not really finding a solid attack as it stands.
Actually, so funny to watch Dubu try to do just something very fast. He tries to do something fast, and he simply cannot. You cannot interrupt that roll basically at all. So you have to wait till the whole crap is done to do basically anything. And we experienced that right there. Although we have a tough situation. Okay, gets the kill, but nice ult there from Tragic. Sniffed that one out. The Celestial intervention keeping the teammate alive there quite nicely. Vaughn's going to try to defend against Zay here. Wow, amazing evade. Getting stunned would probably have been curtains. Now in the hands of Bells, who is quite large, going to easily win Strike Wars against Hungry Boy. Now Zay has a little bit of activity here. Okay, actually ends up using the log to get a red ball and ended up redirecting it down there. That was kind of saucy. I kind of like that one.
I'm not sure if I've seen that before on Dubu, actually. Like almost like the redirect of this entire primary, but you just do it with a log. But hey, it's very efficient, right? Because the primary is gonna hold the core, so you can't just simply strike it out of that if you're the enemy there. So well executed from the side of three switches here, as now both teams are looking to find the first barrier. First barrier is found for the side of three switches, as we're again in another 1-1 position in this set. Obviously, Three Switches looking to take a 2-0 lead in the sets as it stands right now, but not quite able to find the barrier just yet. The abilities on Bells all incredibly low. Primary is all they need, though, as Flip comes out, but a nice intercept from Tragic will actually clear the core. Vaughn almost saving both barriers there, but is gonna have to drop one of them. As now, a KO bit's found by Zay there, actually, to get a power play going in favor of Heavy Metal Gundam now.
Yeah, indeed a power play here. Bell's looking quite weak, almost a second power play. But Vaughn's going to be up here now. There he is. Y'all almost has a flip. One more strike away or an ability. There you go. Flip here. Bell's going to keep the ball possession for their team. Nice path splitter there from Zay is going to strike the barrier by itself. Bells just runs up and smacks the crap out of the ball. Tragic might not have noticed that amount of speed on that Dubu and getting right in his face, taking that set. Dubu, Bells, kind of the king of dying right now. MVP, what could they possibly take? There's that Castellas that I was mentioning before. Could cause true combos with that Dubu roll. I wonder if he's going to prioritize that.
I can also see extra special, just simply because the ultimate just holds so much value, and having more access to it is great, but the build different, just getting more size on Bells, being an even bigger Strike War menace, and having more area on that secondary as well. It's going to do a decent amount of work for him. The extra special being picked up by Hungry Boy, Device now doing a lot more damage. Fight or Flight also being a very good pickup for Zay here, helping with that mobility even more. And across the board, I feel like everyone kind of alright with the pickups. None of them are like insane to a point where you're rejoicing and jumping in happiness, but it's good. It works for everyone.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I feel like Hungry Boy and Zay really got a pretty solid awakening for them. I mean, if you're Hungry Boy, you're now going to be just eradicating this dude at every front that you can. Vaughn just get a little bit of cooldown, and man, nice teleport there. Good Rose Warp from y'all, getting an angle that nobody can defend against, and they're gonna steal that one away. And they have one more here, one more little point. This is actually game, set, and match point here for 3 switches, right?
Yeah, and they are looking to find it. As you can see as well, off of kickoff, Vaughn always makes use of that eject button, runs up, makes use of the Kai to force the core up front. Ooh. But not quite able to get the result this time around, as both barriers are already dropped on the side of 3 switches. Now Bell's trying to get the attack going, but the expanse will just completely shut down any kind of attack there.
Yeah, Zay trying to make use of this fight or flight, but looking a little bit weak now. Gets staggered, gets their secondary back, or whatever fight or flight actually does, other than giving you that speed. A whole lot of damage being sent onto Bells. The Supernova not going to make things easy for them. The flip here from Hungry Boy, kind of an awkward rate. Tries to go for the Super Omega Night Market angle ever, but does end up being a couple of degrees off there. It's not going to work out just yet, but everyone is now still alive. Zay looking a little bit weak as they're going to clear the ball cleanly away. Vaughn does get their hands on the ball one more time. It's a little bit awkward. They keep sending it on over to Vaughn. Zay's right on the front lines, but going to spend the secondary, keep the flip. As we know, once again, flips are incredibly valuable in this format. Nice primary there from Tragic, but it's not going to be enough as Y'all is right on the front lines. Going to try to go in here for the Ward War. A couple of abilities spent, but Tragic just survived this moment. Here comes the Supernova as well into the hands of Zay, but Y'all and Vaughn do end up surviving that moment. Bells going on in there with every Dubu ability available, but Hungry Boy does nicely with a Thunder Strike and a regular strike. Thunder and regular coming together to make a point for them. Incredible. They are Gundam.
Heavy Metal Gundam gets another set to a 1-1 situation here, but they still need to find the first set win, actually. So they do need to try to change what's happened so far and actually get this last point here as well, so they can force more sets and potentially force a game 3. But as it stands right now, barrier does drop for them. Bells is a bit low, but with the Stagger Swagger on board, he's gonna be able to regenerate that HP pretty soon. So Heavy Metal Gundam trying to make the push going now. Tragic has a flip. Zay has a flip as well. Tries to use it for the KO, but doesn't quite find it. This Dual Ultimate will come out, but the core is just getting kind of stuck. Sounds disappearing as well as the KO gets found on the Dubu. Now power play in favor of Heavy Metal Gundam.
Yeah, that particle acceleration almost causing a tragic moment here. So they're going to keep this one alive here. 3 switches on and now off the power play as Bells comes back, has every ability there, spends a couple of them to try to help clear this ball, but Hungry Boy's not giving it up yet. Thunder Strike, teleport in, flip, can't seem to maintain control as 3 switches is going to move up and survive that moment. Nice play from Vaughn, although Y'all looking quite weak right now. I didn't mean it like that, but he's looking weak. He's looking weak right now. They're trying to get a kill here. Zay helps get a kill with Hungry Boy nicely with this power play. Tragic has their ability to get the ball on over there and does try to do it with the expanse, although Bell's setting up the wall now. Zay also setting up one of their own, but they don't seem to be able to get this barrier. 3 switches is even playing these power plays quite nicely as Bells is going to try to maintain control of the ball here. No abilities left possibly for this moment, or just the positioning was not what we wanted. There goes the Supernova, but it's not going to do all that much. Here comes the eject button to keep the ball alive once more. And we haven't gotten a point yet, though. Overtime been here for about 20 seconds or so, and it's a little bit of a slow burn once again.
Yeah, 3 switches just doing such a good job defensively, right? As soon as they go in a negative power play or when they're down a player, both forwards will just go immediately back. And again, you mentioned it before, the Dubu is obviously a goalie character. Yal being a good goalie player as well is going to make it a lot easier for them to hold on. As they find the barrier now, Vaughn runs up and actually just does the deed with the barrage, forces it in, and takes the game, takes the series for 3 switches to go into the finals.
Actually, incredible play there from Vaughn. And end up baiting the most obvious pass in the world on up to Bells, and instead just taking it for themselves, realizing that they have barrage up to help it on through. And that was a really good play. Vaughn, the MVP, well deserved as well. Actually, really good play there, as we do see 3 switches taking that one kind of handily. Nice little 3-0 for them, ending that one in a reasonable fashion. Lots of damage being displayed here from all teams right there. Actually, Hungry Boy doesn't have too much more damage than Say and Y'all. Y'all, the Estelle, funny enough, almost equaling the Vice with the Wand, right? Like, that's kind of incredible that Y'all was really trying to work on some of these kills, but no one really, Bells is the only one with a literal kill on this team versus 7 to the opposing team, although it was not enough because 3 switches were just too good at holding the ball, right?
Yeah, and they were just doing such a good job defensively because you can see it in the stats even. Not a single member on 3 switches below double digits in safes alone. So they just kind of rotated that well, always took up the job when they needed to. And in the end, that was just enough to take the win because Heavy Metal Gundam just could not find the force past all 3 of them. So very deserving win for 3 switches. Moving on into the winners final now as well, and looking to take home the win in Whammy Lab 3.
Yeah, just one more set left. We are almost definitely going to a break right now as Last Call and Handless Kittens are going to finish up their game. They'll load on into here, get some bands going, get some stage picks. As this is a best of 3, they're going to have to do a little bit more, and we will see you guys in just a minute for this grand finals. Am I right? All right, welcome back, everyone. Whammy Lab number 3. We are in the finals now. It's just about over here as we're going to get two of the most powerful teams in this whole bracket as they are here. Indeed, 3 switches. I actually just had a pretty crazy set a little bit earlier we saw on stream, which was pretty nice. And we also have kittens, handless, soon. These guys are pretty damn good, and they're going to be fighting out over here in the finals here. Sloth, Awakenings, what do we got? What
Honestly,
do we have?
I'm not quite sure yet. I'm not quite sure yet.
True.
But it's gonna be a BO3 again, and again, right? There's no awakening bans this time around, so we don't know what's gonna happen. It could be very polarizing again, as we're going to a demon dice actually for our first game. We've seen it before, and we'll see it yet again. Specialized Trading Super Surge. Oh, have you heard of KO?
I might have heard of KO once or twice. I mean, insanity that we have another game streamed live for the people that is only going to result in pain and suffering for the players. But I mean, isn't that possibly just their job? Maybe it is. Banning Luna, banning X, none of that, absolutely. But we do have Finny and Zentaro. Amy, there's some damage here. There's some coordinated damage here for the side of Kittens here. I think they're looking kind of good, but hey, three switches has now. I feel like I kind of high value now right now. No pun intended, but I think she is pretty good on basically every stage. So we will see how this turns out. I mean, it is all on 3 switches, I guess, to maybe survive this, but they're probably going to get kills either way. I mean, they're so damn coordinated.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, I agree with you. Right now, it's been doing such a good job over the entire course of every single game we've seen so far. So I'm a bit surprised it even fell down to a last pick here, as 3 switches was able to pick it up. And we'll see if it's going to hold the value it's been holding so far, right? Because you're going up against a lot of damage yet again. The Super Surge on the Amy for NXT is going to do so much in terms of kill pressure. And obviously Finny, Estelle, Amy, all characters that are just going to dump so much damage, even just passively. As Bells almost immediately gets taken off the map, the evade does come out in time to keep him alive. But as you can see, not for long, because the damage is not slowing down in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, definitely is not going to be slowing down, especially on this map. Everyone's got to be really tight-knit here, and we're all going to be on top of each other. But that's something that now is really good at exploiting, right? Everyone's on top of each other, your whole team gets healed. Everyone's on top of each other, your whole team, opponent's team takes a lot of extra damage, which is quite nice. You do not see Bells on that Dubu as we did a little bit earlier. Makes sense, I guess, Team in Days. Almost gets a goal there. Honestly, Zentaro Super Surge is a really good start here for Bells and makes it happen, just putting on an incredible amount of pressure and getting that goal on in there through the Finny, who, is it not damage? Finny taking Powerhouse Pauldrons, starting to blast here with 25 extra power. Her primary, actually, I think her primary is the highest scaling damage, at least primary in the game for sure, at the last I checked. So she is going to benefit quite a bit from getting that extra strength on the Powerhouse Pauldrons, as no barriers have gone down yet, but NXTD is approaching here with Flip, and, well, a little embarrassing moment there for NXTD, who gets a little bit too anxious there with that Flip, but is going to destroy y'all in return. But they don't end up getting him out of here yet, but Bell solos both of the barriers here, playing something. The way I describe it is, once Zentaro gets something like Super Surge, can kind of play all of the roles on the map with such great movement there. Nice weight as well. NXTD looking a little bit weak here. Vaughn trying to make a play with this Rasmus. Spends the Flip at Bells. Does not care. Actually, y'all does not care. I think that was actually a drone to help it on through. Really well played. Already the first set, only 2 points to each set. So that was nice and quick. 3 switches are grabbing some Awakenings.
Yeah, just a lot of offensive pressure coming out from 3 switches there, just overwhelming the defense from Kittens as it's in right there. The Monumentalist actually going on top of the Rasmus, a good deny. Oh, actually, wait, now is on his team. But come to think of it, there's a specialized training on the Rasmus as well. And the hook does count as a creation, so I'm gonna be curious how much damage is just gonna come out of Vaughn's hook now, because it's not gonna be little. Talking about damage though, the reverberation coming out for Weston is going to help with survivability a bit there. And NXTD and Grimella both opting for size, just looking to get a bit more presence in those strike wars. But Yal being able to pick up a glass cannon there as well, it's going to help now with getting a little bit more damage out. And Bell starting to spark stack as well. It's going to help him quite a bit as NXTD actually finds a strike past Vaughn. Barrier seemingly just disappearing in a moment as this point is played out in 12 seconds.
Yeah, Barrier was assistedly destroyed there from the big finish, which is the one thing I could think of that Vaughn was trying to do with that Monumentalist pick was deny Finny from getting Monumentalist, which is pretty incredible on this map. If Finny just drops that thing on your barrier with Monumentalist, it's almost definitely a double barrier situation. So we're going to try to mitigate that just a little bit, although they are still... Big Finish itself is just really good in general on this map. A nice primary there from Vaughn to make sure that other barrier goes down. Y'all gonna try to keep control of the ball here though, but Bell's looking super weak. Almost gets hit into the ball and in the direction it was going. Everyone kind of missing here though. Y'all got the flip. Bell spends theirs to maybe survive a situation, but now they don't have any energy left. Grimella and NXDD are working on getting a flip of their own. They might be able to survive long enough, although, tough situation there for NXDD, but we are indeed surviving that. The big finish again almost causing a destructive situation here for Weston, but fortunately Grimella gets kind of primaried there from Vaughn. Had the flip, they might be spamming use energy burst, but you know, sometimes you try to wait as long as you can. Get stunned, feels bad, man, but either way, a point on over to 3 switches.
Yeah, and something I've noticed 3 switches do so well is what their name would imply, right? They're swapping positions so much. Vaughn has walked up so often already in varied games and just applied pressure, took over the midfield position as Yal is falling back. So I feel like that's really going to help them as well if in rotating those abilities and rotating the damage, as the barrier does drop again though for 3 switches there. Trying to get the barrier off of Kittens, but not quite able to find a hit on it, as again it's a game of survivability, right? Grimella was down to being staggered, is now being healthy yet again, now has to use the ultimate here to get all the HP back, but Bells is almost immediately taken down to 1 HP in an instant again, as Bells is actually now staggered. The barrier does drop once on the side of Kittens, but not quite able to get the second one just yet.
Outrageous Death's Touch there from Vaughn to keep themselves alive. Also, really great mix-up from NXDD, almost landing that one, almost killing Bells there as well. And I'm noticing that the Handless Kittens actually have, like, multiple X factors when it comes to taking out these barriers, right? Like, we have the big finish. Oh, nice save there from Weston, but unfortunately it dribbles it right back to Bells with that Soren angle. Not going to work out for them. But yeah, the X factors here from Handless Kittens, I mean, if Finny drops the big finish on your barrier, it's going to be really tough to sometimes double barriers. If NXDD has the wall, the sentry wall, the firewall sentry, got it, everybody, it's all right, good. Firewall sentry on the barrier, it could be 2 barriers as well, and the X factor doesn't really seem to exist there for 3 switches. I feel like they're losing a lot of barriers, but either way, they're taking all the points. They're surviving that situation on open goal, which is pretty incredible, and now opting to go for Deadeye. Again, possible deny, but maybe not, because this Death's Touch is going to be kind of insanely powerful at this point. I mean, this is going to be a nasty Death's Touch, as Bells does grab a second spark as well, which is going to result in a little bit of scaling if this game could possibly last longer.
Yeah, at what point is it a deny? Isn't it a deny anymore? And is it just like a cautious decision to just deal damage with that ability? It's because it is going to hurt, but there's a lot of other things that are going to hurt as well, right? The extra special on NXT actually is going to make that Amy turret ever so present. It's going to make it so much more difficult for the side of 3 switches to actually hold on to their barriers as well, but damage is being pumped out. Barrier does drop now as well once, as NXT actually finds a crucial KO there. Power play in favor of the Kittens now. Are they going to be able to find the barriers? It's going to be a bit difficult, and now the Rasmus are doing a pretty good job defensively, not giving any kind of free attacking space there, as now Bells is back on the field, and now 3 switches are trying to get an attack going to take the barrier down for sure. Do find the strike in the end as well, as now open net on the side of the Kittens.
Yeah, really good work there from 3 switches to even keep both of these barriers alive, but here goes one. NXT has a chance maybe to get another one here with this glitch pop, but ball's going a little bit too fast in overtime. Grimella has got your back, though. Weston also has a flip with NXTD to possibly keep the situation alive. A flip, possibly, yeah, just too many mix-ups for Zentaro in that spot, so the flip's going to keep yourselves alive. NXTD gets stuffed there from Y'all, who wins the situation against that flip, and now it's going to be just a tough situation behind the back here. Vaughn can't keep this one alive. NXTD and Grimella are trying to get this one in here with that sentry. They don't seem to make it happen. Vaughn steals that ball away, but just hits it right back over to Bells. Lots of pressure, but Weston stays alive again with that triple take. Bells flip right over to him from y'all. It's going to be way too much pressure for the Headless Kittens to deal with right there, and you could see it. They grabbed that point as well for them, and now they're looking at first game point here.
Yeah, and 3 switches are just playing it so much more like convincingly dominant, right? There's a lot of damage being pumped out from both sides, but the people really finding the barriers and finding the goals is 3 switches, and it's not going to change anytime soon if the side of Kittens are not going to find a different angle, and the Death Touch just sending NXTD across the map there. What amount of power behind that ability?
Yeah, that thing has a lot of base power even in general, but now it is basically super powered as we're going to have a sentry on the south side here. It's not going to grab that barrier just yet. Y'all looking a little bit weak, but Bells does steal the barrier. Vaughn's going to help it on through. Y'all back here playing goalie like we already know he does. Going to keep that one alive. This barrier stays here, but when NXTD gets on in there nicely with that Super Surge Cyber Swipe, is going to be good enough to get that one. We've got a 2v3 right now if they can get it on through NXTD, but honestly NXTD is winning a lot of crucial situations to keep themselves alive. Weston reads the minor flick there with a primary. He's going to also keep this point alive too. Vaughn hitting it on over to Gramella. Okay, nice flip there, really close situation. Now it's just on y'all to get the ball over to Bells once more as they have a flip. They're trying to approach one more time with this thing, but man, Gramella and NXTD are doing such a good job of making the ball not even get past midfield.
Yeah, the core is really just trying to find its way to Bells, but they're not allowing it to go anyway close to their defensive side. But Vaughn is also doing a really good job holding on to the defense. They're not giving any kind of room, not making any kind of mistakes in terms of strikes, as no one's really finding this goal yet. Although both sides are an open net, y'all now running up with the flip might want to use it offensively here. It's close to the net, does not use it though, because Bells finds a beautiful primary there to get it past Weston. And 3 switches find another 3-0 victory against the Kittens to take a lead in this series.
Really well played there from 3 switches. I actually thought that Bells was going to... I thought the situation was going to occur where Bells holds the ball with the slice and dice, which allows y'all to actually run up with that flip, but actually ends up taking it with the slice and dice. It was quick enough and tricky enough to get it on through there. 3 switches winning out on the Demon Deus map. Fair, lots of damage being exchanged, good enough amount of kills. Actually, only 3 kills on 3 switches, and only 1 on the other team, but a lot of damage being exchanged. You can see it here, just so many players staggered. I mean, 10-minute game, these numbers are, I would say, pretty high in a 10-minute game. So either way, we're going to go to another map in just a moment here. I do not seem to have it on my screen just yet, but another map, probably something like Clarion. Oh, cool. See, I'm so down with Clarion. You know, I've seen enough Night Market. I'm good, man. Clarion adds a whole lot of flavor for the casters too. You know, adds a little bit of flavor for the players. But I enjoy casting for Clarion Corp, as there's a whole lot of stuff to happen here, though.
Yeah, and I feel like personally, I just really like Clarion as a map, you know? Put the players into a bit of different situations, have them approach each map a little bit differently, and weigh your picks quite well as well to do well across the board, across all of the maps, as we have a Twin Drive and Recovery Drone start, so less aggressive in terms of damage, but I do see a trend. There's a high priority on all of these, like, defensive lockdown type of goalies, because the Mach was banned, Asher can go into net as well and got banned out. And Atlas was the first pick, together with that Twin Drive, going to be so difficult to deal with as Erasmus, and then now get picked up for the side of the Kittens. Very strong characters as a baseline here. And especially if you do have the size for the Erasmus and the cooldowns for the Now, there's going to be so much pressure and just presence from them across the map, as the Julie and the Juno also now get picked up for the side of 3 switches. Obviously, the Julie being such a strong force character finds those KOs, and the Juno being ever present with those blobos. A finishing touch of a Dubu though, a little bit of a Dubu pick coming through, which I'm a little bit surprised by, but there weren't really a lot of lockdown goalies left anymore.
Yeah, I think Dubu is a fine pick here, though. We'll most likely see them in the goal in the goal spot now, and probably not Bell's playing it again. I fair on the Asher band too with size on Clarion. There's a whole lot of side lanes. That's what Juliet is so good at, right? The side lanes on 2 of the maps and possibly more can cause situations where you just cannot play in that spot because Juliet is looming there, trying to watch you. You know, she's doing is sitting there throwing the ball at the wall. Like, yeah, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, get that ball, buddy, and then you die. So trying to watch out for that situation, and she's going to be even a little bigger here with that size. Almost definitely going to be taking a recovery drone. I feel like in another meta, we might have seen Rune show up. Yeah, sorry guys. I'm a Rune guy, but you know, got a little bit nerfed. Maybe just out of the meta now. You know, maybe not the right awakening start, but either way, this is what we have for you guys. Taking Twin Drive on. Okay, so we got Y'all Vaughn taking Twin Drive here. Grimella also deciding to get it. And Size Erasmus, of course. Size Dubu as well. And yeah, Bell's grabbing that recovery drone, which is totally fair. Starting off here on Xeno Cloak, Xenomorph stage, or whatever you want to call it here on the top side. See if they can grab a barrier really quick. Almost had a situation where they could. Actually, Dubu, I feel like we'll see. You know, Dubu has a lot of potential on these maps, especially closing off the side lanes with the ult. Not deciding to take Strike Shot. Something I've realized recently is that Strike Shot Dubu gets the ult to move just far enough to where I think it's like kind of incredible. But deciding to go for Size, which is also good at closing the side lanes. So we'll see how that one works out.
Yeah, it's gonna help a bit with that extra strike advantage as well, right? Dubu already has a baseline, having a bit more size and a tiny bit advantage against everyone, and getting a little bit more size off of the awakening of the recovery drone, and then even more size off of the powerhouse is gonna help a bit as well. But ultimately, the strike wars don't matter if you just get dash punched through. As you can see, Bell's run up here. The flip actually does save the core still, as the side of Kittens are holding on to this point. Find a barrier, find a second one as well with NXCD finding the flip, but it gets defended by Vaughn. Weston now holding on to the core speed here, as they're trying to set themselves up to get the goal as well. But Vaughn has a flip to his name if he does need to use it, but currently not under enough pressure to actually have to use it just yet.
Yeah, almost gets stunned there, Vaughn, by NXZD. That most likely would have been Curtains. Ball into Weston's hands, getting it on over to Camilla. Top side here in the Xeno Cloak. Vaughn giving it to Y'all. Both players there have flip. Bell's trying to approach here to maybe get a situation where they can get a pass. Yeah, that's exactly right, but the angle was slightly off. Bells could not get their hands on that ball. Flip from Grimella is going to be instantly stuffed by Y'all, and Bells dash punch, get eradicated. Dubu, you are extremely large and are going to die quite easily to this dash punch. First point on over to 3 switches.
And that is both recovery drones also gone on NXCD and Weston now. So every single dash punch KO that Bells can find is going to be a power play, as Vaughn immediately uses that flip there to get the counterattack going. But Weston with a nice roll will completely shut that down. But the force does not stop there. Vaughn is holding an aggressive line on the Atlas, gets played around and punished for it. But in the end, you still have a barrier. And now Bells in a beautiful situation to get the second barrier and the KO. The barriers do get traded back and forth. Weston now holding on to the point, but no, Bells wins the strike war and gets the first set for 3 switches.
That is indeed a situation where Cast to Last changes the game. Cast to Last also allows you to roll onto somebody and the ball and strike it right through them. They are stunned with just simply way too long, unless they're incredible size. But either way, yeah, going to win that one out, as the secondary is not going to be perfect right there. Juliet grabbing some size, which is good. Great deny, and it's just really good on Juliet on this map. So already Bell's feeling pretty good about their picks right here. Extra special on Dubu is also like a pretty solid pick, like a main pick there. But you are going to end up give up Cast Last. Like, no more of that. There's no more chance to make your secondary actually a god move. So I think it's a fair pick. I think Extra special is very good on Dubu, and I mean, that'll work. That'll work. Grimella taking Sparks. I mean, we'll see if they can get Sparks too. Y'all's got one too. I mean, we are definitely fighting for our life out here.
Yeah, most definitely. I also think Extra Special is actually a really good deny pick off with the Juno, because you don't want to give Yao so many blobs to be working with. As a KO gets found, recovery drone gets popped off of Bells as well, though, as one seamlessly transitioned into being a forward there. Barrier does drop in the end, but considering how they were at a player down for a little bit there, they were doing a pretty good job. As the barrier now does drop, Weston is not able to hold on to this point, and NXCD now tries to get the second barrier off of Vaughn. Does find it as well, actually.
That was close. Vaughn almost had the save there with y'all, but NXTD was keeping just too much pressure up there. And again, the ball's going to have a really tough time. He had the cooldown, but didn't think they needed it until the literal last second, where things do have startup in this game. Not all your moves are going to be literally instant. Actually, basically none of them. Actually, there's a few of them that are like really fast. Like Now's Primary has basically no startup. Either way, going to get a first point there on the board for Handless Kittens. They're going to fight onto the bottom side here, onto the Maelstrom version of this map. Rasmus, NXDD getting the huge orb, but still ended up losing a strike ward there to Y'all, who was on point. Bell's trying to approach here with this flip, but now the drone is going to interrupt that situation. Vaughn is now going to be the catalyst here to try to get the ball on over to Bells. They can't seem to get it through, but with the help of Y'all, it does mitigate some of that pressure. Grimella trying to go on up, maybe a mix-up to Vaughn, but didn't seem to work out. Bells holding the ball for themselves, has that flip, but ends up redirecting it back into the wall. That was actually so tricky and really interesting. Honestly, Bells, that was actually so sick.
Yeah, it was really well executed, and keeps the flip there as well to be working with here, as Grimella takes so much damage almost immediately, walks directly into the Obscura zone there to be put down into stagger. Needs to be careful not getting taken off the map here. You even see Vaughn just kind of push him around, use abilities to just have him be as low as possible. As the core does find one of the barriers on the side of the Kittens, tries to get the second one as well, and I just really want to point out, Vaughn is playing it so aggressively in his positioning, and it's just making it so difficult to really deal with if you're the side of the Kittens, because you have that high-risk, high-reward playstyle of the Atlas, just keeping the core up front as much, just putting NXT into Purgatory there. Barriers now both down, and Barry still hasn't dropped. Power play now, actually, in favor of the side of the Kittens, but Vaughn just playing so aggressive.
Yeah, really aggressive situation there, but it was the odds of winning that situation were, I think, a little lower than Vaughn had actually gambled for. Either way, they do lose Bells in return. Now he's finally back. They only lost one barrier in return, so I guess the risk-reward might have actually exceeded the necessary calculations on that one, as the NSCD is going to give the ball right back to Weston with that primary ult onto the top side, but doesn't seem to block the ball here. Still open goal for the Kittens, and Vaughn has a barrier up. Bells finds a dash punch, a pass right on back. Possibly not exactly on the same page there. Vaughn really trying to help as much as they possibly can, getting on in there, but Weston so big right now with this Dubu, can win these strike wars. Vaughn does have the strike shot up, but the expanse is certainly not going to be big enough to hold that down. And now they have an open goal for themselves. I mean, this has been kind of a slog here for Kittens to even be alive in this moment. Can they somehow get this point first?
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing good at not getting scored on, but you saw the downside of the positioning from Vaughn, right? Being a bit too far up, they found the angle pass and take the barrier, and now NXT in front of the net with the flip is going to be able to secure the point, and with that, the set. As we have a Grimella first pick, and Monumentalist still is on the board. Doesn't drop this time around, though. But we do still have Stagger, Swagger, Rapid Fire. Really good awakenings across the board here to be picking up. I wonder where the priority is going to lie for Grimella, as he does pick up the Stagger, Swagger, Rapid Fire being a quick response for Yaldo. Cooldowns are king. Glass Cannon finding its way onto NXT. More movement speed to be playing with, as the missile prop is likely to be picked up by Weston. Yes, exactly. Not gonna give that over to Vaughn, because it is such a strong awakening for both Atlas and Dubu. So not surprised that's gonna go there, as a Deadeye pickup for Bells is gonna be there, and that's gonna go into the stat books as one of the few Deadeye truly games.
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting situation. Hey, maybe gets Super Surge a little bit later and actually makes use of that Deadeye, which would really kill you. That would Dash Punch would be reinvented, redesigned, with Deadeye being worked into the build. As one barrier goes down for the side of three switches here, NXDD got a little extra size to try to work with, try to win some strike wars against y'all. Grimella going to use the Atlas Orb right in the middle to try to help out here, though. Weston can maybe move up and get an ult. I would have. He has extra special. He definitely has ult. I would have liked to see him block off that bottom side, but he's going to do it right now when the situation gets a little bit more awkward. I think they had more control a minute ago, but no problem, as we're going to strike the ball away from Bells. Keep that one out of here. NXTD helping with a little bit of stun as well. Grimella trying to heal up just a little bit here. Almost has Flip to work with too. Y'all maybe trying to get a kill there, but not going to work out, as Grimella's going to dodge a couple of moves, get that Flip for sure. Bells trying to heal with an orb, kind of out of the play for a moment, but now back in, as NXTD is going to just approach here with Grimella, gets the flip. NXTD pops the orb, but Man, they cannot get this barrier from Y'all and Vaughn right now.
Yeah,
Oh.
they're just holding on defensively so well, and Weston actually slightly mispositioned there to get the barrier now. Power play in favor of three
Oh,
switches,
no.
and the Tubu wall did the funny. Weston together with the judo blow was difficult to defend a bounce like that, as three switches will take the lead in this current set. Both recovery drones still available for NXT and Weston, so not really a lot of danger for them to be playing into a weak power play, as they do need to go through both of these drones first, and the swift, clean execution for NXT takes both the barriers, uses the flip, and gets it past Vaughn there as well. An immediate answer from the side of the Kittens.
Yeah, well played there from NXCD, and spends a 20-second cooldown there from Vaughn. No expanse for just a little bit here. One barrier down, gun rolls on in there. Bells trying to set up a situation to make it work, spends the flurry, but gets kind of buffered with that flurry. It might not have come out exactly when they were looking for, getting stunned there. Y'all trying to jump away to keep this barrier up. All they're trying to do is keep the ball away from Bells, and they're doing a pretty solid job of that right now. Weston gonna probably go down here for sure. Can't even think about going up with Juliet of that size and this much energy right here. Vaughn gonna strike shot this one away. The Expanse is gonna hold the ball for just a moment, but NXT is not gonna give it up, as the Tofu Fortress is gonna hold the top side here. So much determination coming out from this team, but Vaughn, using his resources just so well, is keeping this barrier alive, and it does finally make its way over to Bells, who's going to try to self-dribble, but actually hits the wrong side of the wall. Ball into the hands of Vaughn now, who doesn't have anything left. No strike shot to keep that barrier alive. Open goal for three switches. This could be Handless Kitten's chance to get an advantage in this game.
Yeah, and they do need to find it, right? They do want to have that momentum going for them, but Bells in front of that barrier uses the ultimates to just get it guaranteed, and now there's two flips on Bells and Yao, as one of them goes out, second one in front of the net, but gets defended by Weston. The core does not go into the net yet, as now both flips are gone. They do need to find some kind of angle, but no, the bounce actually goes right past Grimella and Weston as Bells secures the set. Really good angle found there by Yao, as they do go into this draft, and Vaughn gets the first pick.
And one of the benefits of Juno, placing those blobs wherever you want, pretty much, and they get whatever strike angle that you so please. And like you said, yeah, Vaughn getting their first pick here. A couple of interesting situations. Getting 1-2 punch to try to either help get kills or help get that ball out of there, maybe taken away from Rasmus, but he does get size in return. NXT probably really happy to at least get something like that, as not being first pick could be a big deal. I mean, Grimella gets a spark right now, takes that away from Y'all, who just didn't have a chance to even, well, actually did have a chance to get that spark, but really would prefer primetime with rapid fire here. Actually, Y'all has incredible levels of cooldowns right now with that twin drive, so they're going to be hitting buttons. There's going to be blobs all over the map now as we enter this next point. NXTD, being a little bit bigger than before, going to be able to win strike wars against basically everyone as long as they have Grimella on their back.
Yeah, but the strike wars don't mean that much if you do have a Julie just dash punching right through you continuously, which just makes it so much more difficult. The Dubo ultimate will force the side of three switches to go to the other half, but they have immediately swapped around, and a nice setup there with the Atlas Expanse in the middle, and the self-pass from Bells will actually find the goal there, and now three switches are just one goal away from taking this entire tournament.
One goal away indeed. They are AFK for just a moment here, probably talking, I don't even know, alt-tab, doesn't matter. Getting back into this game, they lose a barrier possibly as their reward for not being in the game just yet. Grimella getting the ball away from Bells as they do. Y'all trying to do the exact opposite, of course. Weston going to maybe move up and get one of these Tofu Fortresses to block this bottom side, but a flip from Vaughn is going to maintain control of that ball for just a moment here. Down to NXT, who has this flip, going to spend maybe the primary to get through. Doesn't need it, just strikes it. Grimella has a flip of their own. One barrier down for the side of Kittens, though. Open goal for the opponents. Tries to get the ball back onto NXTD's hands as quickly as they can. Grimella not getting the greatest angle here, though. A 2v1 situation keeps themselves alive. And Vaughn could not send the ball down with Grimella there with that flip. Had to just hope NXTD was maybe falling off their chair or I don't know, flips their mouse off their keyboard, but getting that point is maybe enough to keep them in this game.
Yeah, and this last point is going to be a flip-heavy one, as Grimella has flip already, Bells is close to it, and so Yal has his as well already, so probably looking to see who gets more value out of their flips, because we're actually looking at 4 flips in total on the map, maybe even 6 if this keeps up. A barrier does drop on the side of the Kittens. 2 flips coming out from them, though. They only get 1 barrier in turn. Vaughn almost is able to take his own second barrier, though, as now Bells is being down, put into stagger, uses the flip to stay alive, but not able to find the result that he was looking for. Vaughn and Yal now both have a flip available. Are they going to be using it soon to defend here, though? Yal uses it, does not get the core out just yet, as now the Kittens are trying to take this set and trying to take this potential, this game to a potential 5th set, but they're not quite able to do so. Damage being dropped out. Grimella finds the barrier, actually, and now Vaughn is having to defend an open net. Is he going to be able to hold on to it? No, Bells finds the redirect.
Okay, huge moment there. Vaughn 1-2 punch actually gets the ball the heck out of there and into the hands of Bells to get that barrier, which is kind of incredible. Bells making sure that NXTD has nothing to say about that goal. Whoa, almost went through the ball, almost ended Weston's career there with the Duboo. Either way, getting that astral projection down on over to Bells. If they can just get their hands on the ball, it's just a little bit too fast. Juliet can't really dribble to herself in overtime. Needs a little bit extra assistance, and STD tries to go for the pendulum swing. Bells holding the ball to himself, dribbles it with a really nice angle, redirecting his own flurry to give it to himself, redirecting it with a dribble, obviously. Tries to get the pendulum swing to make it happen. Not the greatest angle here for Vaughn. Almost gives it to NXDD. Here comes the Tofu Fortress. NXDD can't get the hands of the ball again. Also, Bells just being slow-ass. Juliet can't get in there. Infinite blobs. Weston survives that situation, though, and NXDD might have the death's touch to end this tournament, or at least keep themselves alive in this tournament, and that could result in their victory. But, boy, they are defending as hard as possible right now. No point yet.
Yeah, no one's really giving in here. And again, we're back to basically another rotation of flips as now Bells is looking to find it, but no, the blob will actually find the angle past Weston there. 3 switches, find the goal, and with that, the victory to take home Whammy Lab 3. Congratulations.
Yeah, well played from 3 switches. Man, incredible defense. I gotta say, man, Vaughn is so good at weighing his resources and using them when needed. So, getting the MVP again here. Vaughn playing really well as the goalie right now. Getting those MVPs is not that easy, especially with Bells and y'all as your forwards, right? But there you go, man. I mean, 3 switches, cleaning house, actually, right there. I'm not even sure if they dropped a game. You can't really, as most of these were best of ones. But no problem, and they're going to do a really great job of taking this tournament. Soon, Handless Kittens, really great showing, though. So close, man. Like really 1 point off of a possible awakening swing to make it really happen for them. But a little bit too fast. 3 switches are going to be able to end this one.
Yeah, and I feel like as an overall like review of the tournament, right? Do you notice the 2-point sets so much, right? I feel like these games have always been pretty fast-paced in terms of a turnout as well. And honestly, I feel like the Awakening draft in the best of ones, they were rather interesting. Rather interesting because people were just weighing in on just manipulating the draft so well. And it's definitely a fun watch. And in the end, 3 switches just did it the best, right? They just manipulated everything the way they needed to. They were getting the awakenings in the best of ones. They were getting the drafts and the maps in these last few best of 3s as well, and just had such a convincing performance and definitely deserving of taking home this tournament's victory today.
Absolutely agree with that. Well played. I mean, I don't know if the awakenings that we had saw would really have changed the game. I feel like the teams that wanted to play kill were going to play kill either way. But yeah, it was so interesting to see the 2-point sets. I mean, man, the pressure of when you lose just 1 silly point because of something, and then it's like, bro, set on the line instantly. So it's like higher pressure. It feels like higher pressure stakes than normal, even though this isn't like a big old national tournament. But either way, that's kind of how the game ended up working. Again, congratulations to 3 switches for winning this one. Yalvon Bells, the classic here. Sad Boys are going to take this one. And that is certainly going to wrap up our tournament here. Slav, honestly, it was a fun time. We saw some things that I had not seen in a while, and I love that.
Yeah, most definitely. Very fun, very varied experience as well, right? Some maps completely only KO, other maps a little bit more controlled, but always a great fun to be here and watch these games being played out.
Yeah. And that will conclude our tournament here for Whammy number 3. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will be here next time with some more Omega Strikers video gaming. Stay following, maybe even subscribe to the Bestie in Slot to get those notifications, see what's going on, get some maybe emotes in here, I don't know, bark and whatnot. But there we go. That's going to be in the tournament for us, Sloth. That was fun, and we'll see you guys another time.